Welcome to the Big Week in Gaming podcast, and boy, it's been a big week in gaming. I'm integot for episode 28 on Sunday the 24th of January 2021. As always, I'm joined by the number one challenger for the greatest Xbox RPG player in the world and official Xbox Hall of Famer, Swinny.
Yo!
And the meme maker, interrupter-in-chief, PS5 background displayer, and keeper of the unopened collector editions, Mike.
Hello, I have come to clean
In this week's show, we'll be discussing Microsoft hiking the price of Xbox Live Gold, people getting very unhappy about it and then reversing course very quickly, acquisitions, including some well-known Aussie devs, and Metroidvania aficionado Mike finally pops his Super Metroid cherry. Mike,
Are you allowed to say that? Are you allowed to say that?
Yes, we're allowed to say that.
Are you allowed to use the C word?
Yes, cherry.
Are you sure?
Before we go on, because I might start with you, but we'll start with corrections as we always do. Swinny, you have some corrections?
Yeah, so last week we brought up Sony's recent tendency of displaying certain things like dates and platforms in the end of trailers and then quickly modifying them. And I mentioned that it was Final Fantasy 15 that they did that for with the trailer end card to remove the fact that it was coming to PC, and it was Final Fantasy 16. So I just wanted to correct myself up. So.
Yep. Oh, fair enough. And Mike, what have you been playing this week? Well, we know one of them.
Well, I think you know the main one that I've been playing, Super Metroid.
Finally.
An old school game from 1994. Finally, because I was never, and I feel like I really missed out on a whole generation of SNES and NES games. I was on PC at the time, I think. Oh, and it's just so good to finally play it, and I loved it. But we'll talk about it in a sec.
Beautiful. That's my favorite game of all time. That's my favorite.
I know. So every time I was shitting on it in our chat, saying, "Oh, this thing's stupid,"
and then why can't it crawl? What's going on?
Why can't you do this?
Why can't Metroid crawl?
Where's Metroid?
Yeah, anyway. What else have you been playing? I'm sure you've been playing something else. Sticking to your New Year's resolutions.
I actually have been sticking to my New Year's resolution. So the only other major thing I played was a little bit of Astrobot. And I mean a little bit of Astrobot. And, of course, a little bit of Cyberpunk.
You mean Astro's Playroom, right?
Astro's Playroom, sorry. And then I started Zelda A Link to the Past.
Oh.
On SNES as well.
This is like I don't know if I'll finish it.
It is kind of, well, I've never played in my childhood. That's the thing. Of your child. It's a survival of your childhood. You can live vicariously through me. But no, I haven't. I don't know if I'll actually finish that. Not because it's not a good game. I don't know if I have the patience for it. Number one was Metroid.
I gotta say, Link to the Past is a pretty forgiving game for your time and like not knowing where to go. Like
it's very fair.
Yeah, it's a very fair game.
Kinda. See, I left it at the part. I probably am bad at games. I left it at the part where you go into the throne room, and then I left the game. I put it down, and I came back, and I didn't remember what the conversation was that Zelda said to the princess, or the princess said to Zelda.
Zelda said to the princess.
I think the princess said to Zelda, and the princess said to the green guy, and then I was like, well, what am I supposed to do now? I don't remember that. Well, but lucky you can come back and
that's like the prologue. That's the prologue.
Yeah, well, I haven't even done the prologue
That's pretty early.
Yeah, that's like 5 minutes into the game, isn't it?
Well, it was more like 8 minutes into the game, I reckon.
Yeah, you should try to crack through. That game is really good, and it's
I will, but isn't there a remake of that?
No.
What's the new one?
So you're thinking of the 3DS game, Link
I'm
Between
thinking
Worlds.
of the Switch one, the Switch game.
No. So that's a remake of the Game Boy game, Link's Awakening.
A remake of a Game Boy game. Okay, cool. Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, which was intended. So that Game Boy game was intended to be a port of Link to the Past on the Game Boy, but then they found it was too big, and then they went in a really different, random direction. So
it's a completely different game.
Yep.
And it's what a great decision that was.
Oh yeah, it's a fantastic game. I actually prefer the Game Boy Color version of that game more than the Switch game because it's a bit choppy. The Switch version. It looks awesome though. The Switch version. Okay. And Swinny,
so
what is your retort to him saying that Zelda is Link to the Past is a bit boring and can't get into it?
Well, I don't think he said that. I think he just said he got lost and got frustrated, and he has the span of of like a fly.
I didn't say any of those things. I did not get frustrated. I do have the attention span of, whoa, did you guys see this?
I'm going to shame... Look at... You're an idiot, Mike. I'm going to shame Mike right now because I every now and then like to spy on your profiles to see what you're playing. So I was spying on Mike's Switch profile. And what I noticed is, so with the Switch, it actually has a green color if you played a game for more than, I think it was like 30 or 40 hours. Mike's got no games with that color. And then I started going through and I realized Mike has like 20 games on his list of games that he's played. And legit, like every game that you look at, there's no game that says more than 5 hours that he's played. Every game.
Maybe, hang on. Maybe I'm just really good and I clock them in under 5 hours. Did you ever think of that?
So Messenger, you haven't played for more than 10?
I'm a secret speedrunner. No, maybe I'm a secret speedrunner. You guys just don't know about it. I'll do a feature on it on a later episode.
It's like, okay, so this is... This is so funny. Swinny, you should check Mike's profile. So he's got a game, Grim Valor demo.
Oh, yeah.
He's like, I like that. So he bought it. And then it says played for 1 hour or more. And that's
the demo.
I'm going to come to Mike's defense on this because if you look at my profile, other than a couple of ones that I've played for a long period of time, like Mario Maker, Smash Brothers, the rest kind of say the same thing.
No, but that's just that's normal. No. So if I go through my list, that's normal.
You just said it. It's normal. See, it's normal. It's just normal behavior.
No, stop.
Everyone does it. It's fine. It's acceptable normal? In 2021. What's not shaming.
Is you have like you have a few games that people play a lot, and then it's like mostly little bits. Like this person on my list, Spartan. He's played Animal Crossing for 3,155 hours.
What? Oh, yeah, that sounds really normal. Yeah, totally normal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that the longest amount of time of anyone that you know?
It'd have to be, I'd say.
Okay, all right.
My wife's 500 hours.
Oh, well, that's what I was getting at.
I thought it doesn't even tell you. I thought after like 150 hours, it just says 150 or more. How do you check the full time?
I've got a lot of people with 1,000, 2,000 hours in Splatoon and stuff like that, but yeah.
Holy moly.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Anyway. So sorry, Swinny, what else did you play?
So
This isn't pick on Mike episode, all right?
I just saw that. I loved it. I was like, oh my God, look at this guy's attention span.
So I actually went absolutely crazy this week and I played, I think, like 30 different games.
What?
It's pretty wild.
Wait, hang on. 5 times 30 is 150 hours?
So some of them I played quite a bit. Some of them I played only the first part of, like very first level.
So you had a mic
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but because I was doing, some of it was also the Warboats challenge where it's usually like, okay, play through the first chapter or so, blah, blah, blah. But I know that in the past weeks, when I've played a lot of games, I have a tendency to talk for ages about it. So what I did was I chose 10 of those games, and I'm going to limit myself about how much time and
I'm only going to talk about 10 of the games in the opening segment.
Yes. So out of 30, that's only a third of the games I've played this week.
All right, go on.
I thought, I'm going to limit myself to 15 syllables.
Oh, okay. Let's give him the floor here, Mike.
Wait,
are you doing 17, a haiku?
No, 17 syllables.
Is this a haiku? 575?
Let's give him the floor. All right, go ahead, sweetie.
Yeah, okay,
Mike is on the money. So the titles of the games won't count. All right. So first, and this is all I'm going to say about these games: Bug Fables: The Everlasting Sapling. This game is awesome. Got every damn achievement. Swinny recommends. Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Completed main game. Want to give my final thoughts, but week is busy. Okami. God, I miss this game. Amaterasu is cool. IGN cover art. Dragon Ball Z Kakarot. Let's go, Dragon Ball. Not sure if I like this game. Goku is worse dad. Wolfenstein Youngblood. Replay of first stage. Without Mike, I am much sad.
Oh.
Maybe play again?
Yes. Yes.
Decay of Logos. Game is complete ass. It's poor man's indie Dark Souls. Gone from my shortlist. All right, Peggle 2. Years since Peggle 1. Kinda miss this type of game. May keep playing it. All right, A Plague Tale: Innocence. This game is full on. Why does everyone hate me? Do I have the plague?
No, you got COVID.
Surviving Mars. Installed 2 quick mods. Unlocked all achievements. Never play again. And the last one is Carrion. Destroy all humans. Amorphous killing machine. Maybe just want friends?
Aww. That was really good. I love that.
And that's my week in gaming.
I clap.
That is brilliant.
I was like thinking, why are you doing this? And then I remembered that you just got the Xbox Series X, so you're just going nuts playing all the Game Pass games, I'm guessing.
Well, part of it is the Warboats challenge, but the other part of it is that I just can't. I haven't nailed down what game I want to jump onto for my next RPG completion. So I've been bouncing around between a bunch of them. So
you got to get on to it, don't you? Because you've got like 30 games to complete or something, haven't you?
Well, I've completed 3 already, and it's not even the first month gone. So
it's crazy.
Tracking pretty well.
Yeah, you are actually. Yeah, so it's like 3 a month pretty much to get through it all. Yeah. Anything else?
Do you want more than that? The one thing I will say, that was
actually super entertaining. So yes, I do want more.
The one thing I will say is playing Wolfenstein Youngblood has really proven to me that I just don't gel well with mouse and keyboard controls on modern first-person shooters, specifically modern first-person shooters these days. And I think part of it is because, like, I used to, play Unreal Tournament, Quake 3, a lot of games that, honestly, the controls are much simpler than something like Wolfenstein Youngblood, where you've got like different cloak abilities and stuff. And I just felt that as soon as I picked up the controller instead of trying to use mouse and keyboard, it just felt more natural to me. And part of that is obviously I don't play those games much anymore on PC. But I think the other part is the fact that the more complex the controls have gotten, the less I like using specifically the keyboard part of the mouse and keyboard. But I guess that's just, it depends what you generally play on. You get used to it.
You got to do you, baby. Enough. You can play wherever you want and be wrong. That's fine.
Oh, I'm not going to... I know mouse and keyboard is superior. I'm not going to lie. So.
Speaking of doing me, can I show you guys
play
quickly?
Anything other than mouse and keyboard. What is that, Mike?
I got a t-shirt printed of myself.
Why? Oh, this Nirvana, you idiot. It does look like you. It looks insanely like you.
Ooh.
Okay. So this is what I was saying to Swinny in the pre-show. That Mike does all these visual gags for an audio podcast. So stupid.
Just watch the clips on YouTube. That's all.
No, this one's not even clipped. This is the intro.
Or watch the full video podcast on the intro.
For me, I've...
no one cares what you played.
No, true. I've given up on Skyrim on the Switch, so I'm switching to the PC. I'm just going to play it on the PC.
Why?
I think with this COVID thing, it's really changed the way I play games. So I was playing a lot of games on the Switch because I'd commute a lot. So I'd play a couple of hours every day on the Switch. And I'm more than happy to play really intense games on the train. But I find that mostly the Switch I'm playing almost to relax. It's like puzzle games, Picross, stuff like that, just to chill. And I've been playing more intense games on my PC. So yeah, I'm going to switch to the PC for Skyrim.
I've done the opposite. I've switched to the Switch because a few times I couldn't find my remote to turn my TV on. So then I'm like, well, screw it. I'll just play it on the Switch then. And then I just started playing it on the Switch.
Well,
the troubles of the modern man. Can't find my remote.
I'd love if they had cross-platform saves like they do with The Witcher. Like that would be massive for Skyrim.
Oh, that was so cool, man.
Yeah, that would have been sick if they had that. I'd love if they had that, but they don't. So I think I'm just going to switch on to the PC.
Because
I started Dark Souls again.
Again? Wow.
Well, I just kind of like, I didn't go
Wait, hang on. I told you have to, if you stop that game and you put it down, it's really hard to get back into it. You got to do it from scratch.
But I have to say, I got through the whole start bit so quick now. Like, the boss was like super easy and everything like that. And then also, I'm about a quarter or a third the way through Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Like, so I probably will, have a segment when I get through it. But wow, I love that game. That game is so good. That it's just it is right up there already with Super Metroid for me. It's so good.
Wow.
And I've almost got to now go.
The music is just so cool.
The music is so good, dude. It's like the best compositions of those songs. I have to go back and play the Game Boy Advance games, but it does feel better than them. I don't know, that's a dumb thing to say because that's kind of everyone's position on it. But I love those Game Boy Advance games. But yeah, wow, this game is so good. And there's one more thing, but only Mike can see it, unfortunately.
Whoa! Whoa! Are you serious? They don't do that locally? You had to get to Thailand to get that changed? Whoa!
So what I showed Sweetie was a PS5 box.
You got a PS5.
Mike, you are an idiot. Congratulations for joining the next generation.
Yes, I'm in the next generation.
Nice.
And
what?
The thing
is, like, how? Tell me more.
You know how I like to build things that do stupid things. So I was like, maybe I could just build a bot that monitors websites.
Are you kidding me?
That calls me when I
It actually calls you.
Yeah, it calls my mobile phone, right? So I thought this would be hard, but I actually coded in like, I don't know, half an hour or something. And I put it on, and then at 6:30 in the morning, it called me. I'm like, oh, what's this? Oh, and then it says, check your PC. That's what, that's like a big photo saying, check your PC, right? So then I logged in, and I'm like, oh, okay, I can buy a PS5. And I think like part of it is like, I said last week that the PS4 vertical stand didn't come, and I was so annoyed about that. And then I'm like, I don't need this PS4 anymore. And then I don't know. I think I just got caught up in, could I buy one? And then it was like almost too easy. I was like, oh, God. And then I got swept up in it.
Yeah, when you have the money, all the resources in the world,
I'm going to sell the PS4
it's too easy
Pro.
to buy one.
Going to sell the PS4 Pro.
You're not just going to put it back on display or something?
No, I'm going to sell it.
Okay.
And then
There's no point keeping it.
I got through Astro's Playroom. So I platinumed that game. Did everything in that game. That game is awesome. I love that game so much. I'm surprised you didn't rave about it, Mike. It is so good.
No, I thought it was really, really cool. Yeah, no, I really enjoyed it. Even my girlfriend played it last night, and she quite enjoyed it. So I didn't finish it, so I didn't really feel like I could talk about it properly and do it justice. How did you not see my collection of Switch games that I played for under 5 hours?
That was a stupid question.
Sweetie,
I go very broad. I struggle going focused. I go very broad.
It honestly is like on the same level as like a Mario Odyssey. It is very like small, but that's the thing. It's like probably like 2 worlds in Mario Odyssey. That's the kind of length of the game. So we need to just like, compare it. But it's got this awesome functionality of like, once you've beaten everything, you've got a speed run section. So that's really cool. I played that a little bit. I got up to like 15,000 or something in the world. So I was like pretty happy with that. And yeah, I've unlocked everything in that game. And then that's where I'm playing Dark Souls.
Nice.
So
nice.
I won't be.
Please stick to Dark Souls. It's so
no,
good.
I will. I won't be as indulgent as you guys and have my own segment on the whole thing. But
no, actually, I want to see someone who finally, after all these years, played it. What they think of it?
No, I'm talking about the PS5. I'm talking about the PS5.
Oh, the PS5. No. We heard enough about it.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
But what I would say is I'm not sold on the DualSense being better than my DualShock 4 because I've got the back button thing.
Really?
Well, the back button, I love that thing, man. I'm addicted to it. It's like when I'm playing Symphony of the Night, I have one of the buttons attached to one of my attacks. So you have like a left attack, a right attack. So I can always hold shield and then do all the other moves. So kind of like, it allows me to, it feels like I've got more flexibility with how I can play.
Yeah, of course.
So I can like, what is it called, Swinny, when you sort of do a backstep in Symphony of the Night. I can't remember the name of it. It's like you do a backward slide, like a moonwalk type thing.
Yeah. I know.
Yeah.
I visualize exactly what it is. I just don't know what it's called.
So I can shield, do that, and then also attack and jump all like freely, like without having to like remap anything. I don't think you can remap all the buttons, but yeah, look, like the DualSense really cool. The other thing is everyone's like raving on about the adaptive triggers and the vibration and all that stuff, but I'm like, the Switch had a lot of this stuff and no one's ever taken advantage of it. And I just feel...
Adaptive triggers? What?
No, the HD rumble. But I just feel like a lot of these features won't be implemented much more beyond a year or two from now. Apart from one or two games.
Well, and obviously Demon Souls, they've implemented it and it's pretty good.
By the way, I think it's called Backdash.
Backdash. That makes sense. That makes sense. What Demon Souls, do they have it in that? I didn't think they have any...
Yeah. No, they don't. They don't really have adaptive triggers, but it definitely there's a difference in how it feels when you press the trigger between different spells and stuff.
I don't think that's right.
It's not adaptive in the sense that if you're talking about how far you can push it down, no, it doesn't do that.
So it's not adaptive then. It's just a trigger.
Well, I think it's in your head, vibrations. It's probably in my head. It's the vibrations associated to the trigger that are different.
Because I think
the trigger itself doesn't change. No,
I recall people literally complaining about the fact that it doesn't do anything like that. It doesn't even take advantage of the HD rumble. That's
really?
It does uses a normal rumble profile. No, it just uses a normal rumble profile. It doesn't do anything.
Well, whatever it was, it felt great.
Yeah, that game.
My girlfriend agreed.
I'm waiting until I get through Dark Souls before I get Demon Souls.
Yeah, no, play Dark Souls first and then play Demon Souls.
And Dark Souls looks amazing. Like, I don't know if it looks different on the PS5, but
because you're playing the cool.
But I have to say, like the PS5, man, the interface is awesome. It's actually already up there with the Switch as one of my favorite interfaces. It's just so zippy, so quick.
It's but there's a few things about it that, just to turn it off for some reason.
That's like a bolted on.
I know it sounds stupid.
No, but everyone who plays a lot of PS4 and before that hate the way you have to turn it off.
It's annoying and it's not consistent because the problem is you can't just, press the button and it takes you to the same spot in the menu at the bottom. It takes you to the last place you were at. So you can't even press the button and then flick left to go to options or turn it off because you could be in a different spot. And the other thing that I don't get what the logic behind it is settings is at the top right, but other options are in the menu at the bottom. I don't know why they didn't have settings at the bottom as well. So there's a few UI things like that I think are really weird design choices.
I think they can clean up some of it, but
once you get used to it,
overall it's pretty good. Overall,
it's fine. And it's snappy and it does what you need it to do. So that's the main thing.
Yeah, I'm like really, really happy with the PS5. Again, I don't think there's any reason to buy any of the new consoles. Like, even if I think about the PS5, apart from Astro's Playroom, most of the things you can play on other things. Like, they're releasing on the PS4 or...
Yeah, but not Demon Souls.
Yeah, but that's on the PS3. I could play that on the I played it on the PS3. It's great. So
it's a different game.
It's not literally. It's the exact same game with just a paint at 60 FPS.
Well, no,
it's literally using the engine from the game.
Not quite. Yeah, but it's different. It's like if you had an engine from a Lotus Elise and you put it into some other crazy car that looks completely different. It's a different car.
I mean, I will say they've added quite a bit of quality of life. And the biggest one is the 8-way rolling. The 8-way rolling is the biggest one.
Oh, I didn't know about that. All right, well, it's a pretty busy show, so let's get into the first story. There's a hell of a lot of stories this week. So our first story is Vicarious Visions has been merged into Blizzard Entertainment. So there's been a lot of activity at Activision Blizzard, and essentially I think it's really a passing of the torch fully to Activision itself, where they're really starting to dismantle Blizzard internally and merge parts of its studios. So Vicarious Visions, founded back in 1990, acquired by Activision about 15, 16 years ago in 2005. They've predominantly always worked on a lot of ports and a lot of crazy port work and a lot of cool port work on the Game Boy Advance, DS, and Xbox. So they're often a studio that people go to actually port games and when I say port, it's often kind of translate the game to what makes sense for the system. Most notably for things like Tony Hawk. Recently...
I was just say that Tony Hawk 2 Game Boy Advance, that pretty much that put them on the map. They'd been around for a while at that point, but that is where everyone stood up and go, wait, they were able to do this? And I think that really increased their stock in the industry.
Yeah, back in those days, yeah. And that's regarded as one of the best Game Boy Advance games that you can get. And recently, they've actually done a lot of great work as well, where they've revitalized Crash Bandicoot with the Insane trilogy, and then also with Tony Hawk 1 and 2, that was released to pretty much universal acclaim, including winning video game awards. Regardless, all of that sort of activity, Activision Blizzard made a decision to merge all of the team into Blizzard itself, and then the team itself are going to solely focus on Blizzard IPs. Now, there's probably a lot more of a backstory here as well, because there was reporting from Bloomberg where, and it's really strange. I had to read all about it, but basically Blizzard itself, started with what was now regarded as Team One, but that was with, the World of Warcraft series, Warcraft, and then StarCraft. Then they sort of did a deal with the studio at the time that ended up turning into Blizzard North, which works under the Diablo. But they've got these teams that internally they refer to as Team 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then a Classics team. And essentially this Classics team that has associations with Team 1 had dropped the ball on a lot of remakes recently, including Warcraft 3 Reforged, which still to this day has the worst Metacritic rating for Blizzard. So it very much seems like Activision's a bit of sick of the situation as how it's going with Team 1 in the classic game division. And given that they already have a studio internally that does insanely good ports, it seems like they're going to take that team and then move them on to something like a Diablo 2 and do a remake of that. That sort of seems to be the word from Bloomberg and other outlets. Swinny, what do you think of this news? It's pretty interesting.
It is interesting, and it's certainly not Activision's first rodeo doing something like this. You just have to look at the list of studios that they've acquired and then essentially dissolved. Studio is very closely associated with the franchises that Vicarious Visions has worked on, like Guitar Hero and Tony Hawk. So Neversoft, they acquired and dissolved them. Red Octane, they acquired and dissolved them, and there's countless others. I find it a little strange in the sense that it's coming off the back of two huge releases that were very critically acclaimed. But I don't know if it changes much. I'm just wondering, okay, who is going to... I don't know what other kind of Activision IP could get that treatment next, and would that also be them working on it because it makes sense? But then it's like, well, it's not Blizzard IP anymore. As in, if they're only working on Blizzard stuff, then...
Diablo 1 on Switch. Oh, please, if you're listening, Activision.
So, chances are they could always just restructure people into certain teams for those projects, within the business itself. But I just hope that, from all reports, it doesn't seem like there's been any layoffs, but there's always going to be someone affected or impacted, hopefully not in a negative way. So that's my hope, is that just no one loses their job out of this.
Well, that's already happened. So not on the Vicarious Vision component. So they've almost been, from all the reporting and all the people inside going out to reporters as well, it seems like a bit of a lift and shift exercise for them. So they'll stay where they are in Albany, New York, but they'll go straight into Blizzard itself. The head of the studio, Jen O'Neill, will just report to the president of Blizzard. But what happened was, when I was saying about Team 1 inside of Blizzard, which is amazing because, essentially Team 1 was Blizzard. Like that, it's kind of a weird thing where they've grown out and, developed Team 4, which does Overwatch and, what is it, Team 3 or 5, I think it is, which is Diablo. Now that Team 1 essentially almost has been dissolved. So there was, all the Team 1 folk have pretty much been told they need to find other jobs. And that's why you've seen recently at Blizzard some of the senior people leaving. It's mostly the ones who are running Team 1 and the Classics team. And they've moved on to other things. So they've gone into other parts of Blizzard itself, maybe other parts of Activision. So that's probably where the pain has been felt. But I kind of agree with your points, Winnie. It's like, it's not like Crash Bandicoot's a small IP, man. It's like... Maybe it's just the fact that what else is there to do from an Activision point of view?
It was Toys for Bob did Crash 4, didn't they?
Yes.
So maybe they're just thinking then there's crossover. Toys for Bob are kind of maybe going to handle the kind of stuff that Vicarious Visions would have had in the past. But the crazy thing is, so I was watching a bit of an interview with the founders who left in 2016 from Vicarious Visions, and just the over 100 games in such a short amount of time. Like they were so prolific. Like you just look at, sure, a lot of it's port work, but like a lot of those are ground up ports. Yeah, it's ground up
really hard, yeah.
But it's like games that they're not using any code because, as we talked about Tony Hawk 2, they're recreating a game from scratch.
Yes.
I mean, there's a couple of game developers, Integot and I. We know, we know how difficult it is to do these things.
I'm tracking badly on that. I think I'll hit all my other New Year's Eve things. My New Year's resolutions, but not that one.
I haven't coded really properly since uni, so
I'm a huge believer in the whole saying, let the baker bake, and the port work stuff. I don't know why people ever classify it's not as real game dev. Of course it is, and it's a real difficult specialty. It's very hard because you got these folk who are prolific in now very ancient technology in the grand scheme of things for gaming. There was a really cool article about Blue Point when they were taking Demon's Souls and how they had to take the PS3 engine and get it running on the PS5. But it's literal code. It's like one-for-one code. It's not like their recreation of the code. And then they built another engine on top of it to interact with it to bring you all the quality of life features. So
you make a faithful remake.
Yeah, and I think that's a standard that people expect now. It's like when you get these ports, and it happened with Warcraft, right? When you get these ports where they're just not to the level of standard you'd expect, people, are just not happy with it, which is, fine and fair, I guess.
This is the studio that got given the challenge of putting Guitar Hero on the Nintendo DS.
And they
made it well. And they made it work. They made it work.
I wish I bought that. I regret not buying that.
I had it. I don't know where it is now. That was really good.
Oh, you had the Onzilla version?
Yeah, I had the one with the little tiny pad.
Yeah. It's so cool. Yeah, that's sick.
I hope they get to work on... I think the one game that I've got some of the fondest memories of is the original Diablo. And the only other version other than PC that I can remember is the PlayStation 1 version. So it works in consoles, obviously. It worked back in the day really, really well. And it even had couch co-op, which was really cool. But it'd be awesome on the Switch. I always thought, man, that's like a perfect game for the Switch. It just ports so well.
I just had this funny vision of when you're like, I hope they get to work on it. I thought you were going to say like Guitar Hero Diablo or something. Where it's
that'll be alright. Loop. That had some cool music.
It's a loop or something like
that. Well, I don't think it's going to happen, especially the fact that they're only going to work on Blizzard stuff. But as it says in the Bloomberg article, it appears that they're working on Diablo 2, which I think would be awesome if they do a cleaned up version of Diablo 2.
That'd be cool. With some quality of life improvements.
Well, in the style that they're doing it, which is just maintain the physics, the engine, like exactly how the game plays. The cow assassination thing that people used to do to grind that game. That would be awesome. And if that was on all platforms, Switch included. Because I feel like Diablo 2 would be a really good Switch game.
Oh, it'd be awesome.
Yeah. So
the last thing that I would say on that one is the only other rumor that I heard is when they disbanded one of the teams, the only person that was left was Juan from Mexico.
Okay.
So it was basically Team 1.
Team 1.
That was left.
you idiot. All right. It has been a big week in gaming, so let's move on to the next story.
Sorry, Mike with his great ads there.
Very weird thing that happened over the weekend. So Microsoft announced a whole raft of changes to Xbox Live Gold. Swinny, as he always does, did a whole heap of work in our run sheet in the background.
A lot. All these images, and
I'll quickly just run through. So essentially what they were doing is, and a lot of us, predicted this given that they were starting to get rid of a lot of the 12-month subscriptions. So essentially what they did is the 1 month, 3 months, 6 months retained, 12 months, they got rid of it. The 1 month went up to $1, up by $1, the 3 month went up by $5, and the 6 month went up by 20. But essentially what they were doing is
US dollars, no less.
US dollars. It all works out to be 12 months is now $120 a year instead of $60 a year. And then it just works backwards for the 1 month, 3 months, and 6 months with a bit of a premium. So, people lost their minds over this. Like, so essentially it's almost like doubling the price of it. And then pretty much offering no new value for it. It's just essentially, hey, we haven't updated the price. It really seemed like they're ripping the Band-Aid. Huge pushback on it. And then, what was it? A matter of 8 hours, it felt?
It felt less than that.
Maybe
I
less.
don't know. It felt like 4 hours.
Yeah, probably about that. I don't even get how... I don't understand.
They then reversed course and said, we're not going to change the price. But not only that, they then ended up saying that free-to-play games, which is a bit of a bugbear for people, like Fortnite and Halo Infinite when it comes out, the multiplayer component, the free-to-play games, now you can play without Xbox Live Gold. So they went from doubling the price of Xbox Live Gold to not doubling it and then giving you more stuff for free. It's very,
sorry, we screwed up 8 hours ago. This is the part that, there's a lot to talk about, but the part that I don't get is they said that they listened to feedback and they decided to reverse the decision.
Well, they did, yeah.
Yeah, but how much feedback did they listen to in such a short period of time? I don't get it. It's not like they went, wow.
It's pretty obvious. Really... It's pretty obvious.
What? They went on Reddit saw a few things and went, oh, geez, okay, we better reverse this instantly.
Every major outlet was having op-eds about
it. I know, but it's so weird to see a backtrack that quickly.
It is. But, to be fair,
it's fishy.
From a modern PR perspective, right, there's a couple of things that have really changed the game. Like in the old days, if you had a scandal, the best move was just to go quiet. And then the newspapers, they didn't have anything to, latch onto, and the TV shows didn't have anything to latch onto. So they just move on. But the modern day, it's the opposite. It's if you have a scandal about yourself, you should actually attack. You should attack the person, say, oh, I didn't do anything wrong. This person's a liar. And then people will just go, well, he's saying that, she's saying this, who knows? Like, that's now the modern day. This kind of stuff, the modern day PR thing is to just reverse it. To just go, oh, no, we've changed our mind. We've listened to feedback. And honestly, people won't even remember this. People will forget about this because they haven't gotten, angry enough about it that they'll just forget it. But I wanted to ask...
And now they get some extra free stuff.
I want to ask Swinny as the Xbox shill in charge, and I guess a part of Xbox to some degree, and Microsoft being the Hall of Famer. Why did they do this, Swinny?
First of all, my weekly correction that I'm not in the Xbox Hall of Fame, that is incorrect. That is fake news.
Well, that's your opinion, and I've got my opinion. Why do you think they did this, Winnie?
When you read the original announcement by Xbox, this was worded in such a mischievous way, such a misleading way you always try to mitigate any negative bad news by in your communications, but the fact that it's only $1 per month, $5 per month. But the fact that, that doubling essentially of the 12-month cost, if for anyone that was looking for those long-term subscriptions, was just ridiculous. And what I found is what you see a lot is in these big stories, articles will just get updated. So, they'll still have the headline of Microsoft increases Xbox Live.
Not all of them,
and they'll just have updating brackets or update. And so a lot of these people, especially even on places like Reddit, where a lot of people do get their news from those sources, where they may not actually see the reversal part of
That's
this.
True.
And it's already done damage to them. Like, this was such a bad way to do this. I understand them trying to move people off and trying to essentially phase out Xbox.
So let's talk about the why. Yeah.
But this was a very, very bad way to do it, basically. There's no other.
But let's unpack the why a little bit, because I think it's exactly what he said. It's to try to phase out gold. I think it's to get people onto Ultimate.
No, I don't.
Why else?
I don't think it's anything to do with phasing out gold, right? I think it's so obvious that they're trying to do a McDonald's pricing strategy on this, which is
to make the other option look better by making this one look shit.
Make them so close to each other that you get some shitty games, 5 games, even though this month's pretty good for games for gold. But, normally you get, it's okay. versus, well, hey, it's only a few bucks more, and I get Game Pass, and it's got 200 games on it. That's
but it's
the
not
whole
even
thing.
a few bucks more. It's the same price now. It would have made it the same price, wouldn't it?
No,
Because
I don't think so.
Well, yeah, $10.99 USD would be about $15 Australian, which is about what Ultimate is per month, isn't it?
I don't know how much Ultimate is.
I think
in
Ultimate I think is 15 US.
Yeah.
15 US. Yeah. I don't think I'm paying $20. Let me just log into my
you
online
got on
banking
sales
and
and
check.
everything. Swinny's right.
No. I'm on a monthly thing. I was on a monthly
but the
thing.
RRP is $10. Would have been $10 for Xbox Live versus Live Gold versus $15 for Game Pass. And that's what I'm saying. They're trying to do like a McDonald's pricing strategy where it's just so much better value that people just go, oh, they're so close to each other. Just spend a little bit more and I'll get Game Pass Ultimate.
You guys are wrong. And the Ultimate shill is wrong as well. It's 16 Australian dollars per month.
No, but we're saying US. We're saying US.
No, Australian.
Don't worry about the Australian. Australia is a different market.
No, I know it's a different market, but what I'm saying is, well, okay, so it's 15 US versus 11 US. It would have been.
No, 10 US, right?
Wait, so are you telling me that we actually get a really good deal in Australia?
Yeah, but it's a different market, man. It's a different market. Like
no, but wait, whoa. Can we talk about that for a second? I didn't realize that. We have it good in Australia for once where we get something cheaper?
No, there's a lot
than
of
the rest of the world?
To be honest, there's a lot of times we get stuff for cheaper and everyone just whinges in Australia because we had it
that's fair enough. We also get new games being released cheaper in a lot of compared
games
to some
so
other
much
places and
cheaper
stuff as well.
in Australia than
yeah,
America.
That's fair enough. But no, I'm just surprised. I'm surprised. I did not realize that we have cheaper Xbox Live than we do.
That's been like that for ages. But
anyway,
so that's my theory. My theory is like McDonald's pricing theory. Make it so close that the option that's larger just looks like so much more value. I'll just spend a few more dollars.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
What do you reckon, Sweeney?
Well, when I said phase out, that's where I was kind of going with that. It's more about just you make it so that essentially no one is on Xbox Live Gold except for people that only play one game and they're not interested in signing up for anything on Game Pass.
Well, Ultimate has gold in it as well, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So it's not like phasing it out.
Would
It's
you do
just
that? Yeah.
getting them to upgrade to that bigger.
Well, I think ultimately it's not just to get people to upgrade and pay the extra $3. I legit think it's to actually not have two compete. They're not. I wouldn't call them two competing services, but it is a bit of a disjointed service experience. Why on one platform offer people two completely separate options, and then it I can see how they just want to simplify it and they want to go, you know what, it's done. You're not going to pay that much more for the full experience, so to speak. And I think this is also backed up by the fact that they killed the 12-month thing. They don't want people to sign up to this thing for a long period. The shorter, the better. So then there's, at worst case scenario in 6 months' time, they'll reassess their decision and move on to Ultimate. It's clearly because they want to get people onto Ultimate. And I think it makes sense.
Also, don't forget, based on their rules, I just followed their rules, Xbox rules, and how they allow people to, upgrade to Game Pass Ultimate. I got Xbox Live Gold, the 12-month. I got 3 of them, so 36 months, for it was like $50 each. No, $40 each or something like that.
Yep.
And then I just paid the $1 thing to upgrade to Game Pass Ultimate. So then I had Ultimate for 36 months for $3 a month or something like that. So obviously that's also something that they probably want to get rid of. People, I don't know how many people do that, but I don't know anything about Xbox and I knew about that people could do that. So
can you still buy those cards or have they completely,
you can still
whatever was left? You can still buy those cards.
Not the ones that I got really cheap. Because my ones had Halo branding on it, so
I had a bunch of those from when Dick Smith closed down and stuff. And
so I think they needed to just get rid of them because it looked ridiculous advertising Halo 4 or something like that. Or Halo 5, I think it was. But yeah, so
they still have the 12 months at this stage.
But they're getting rid of it. I think they're still getting rid of the 12-month card. So yeah. All right, well, let's get into the next story. So this was the Resident Evil showcase. So they flagged prior that it was going to have Resident Evil Village. There were a lot of folk who were expecting that they would have Resident Evil 4 remake. When they did talk about the inventory system, which, they even said, hey, this is very similar to Resident Evil 4, I started to think, oh, okay, maybe they'll actually announce a remake after all. So I started to get excited for that. But really the only big announcement that they sort of had in this, apart from one that I'll flag, is that they're going to release this game, which they only originally said was PS5, Xbox Series X and PC. Now they're also going to make sure it works on PS4 and Xbox One, which, I think given the supply constraints on the consoles makes sense. Like when I got my PS5, I think it got sold out within like a couple of minutes. So people are just buying these things like crazy.
I could be wrong, but I'm fairly certain we didn't have an actual release date.
No,
we didn't have a release date.
So that was a big announcement as well.
Yeah, so
we didn't have for those, but we had a release date for the game, which was May 7th.
We didn't before. So yeah, the big announcement was that. The release date, and then it's also coming on to 150 million consoles that are out there in the wild, rather than PC, which is a stack load.
10.
But I wouldn't play Resident Evil on PC. It just feels like such a console game for some reason.
No, I played it on PC, and it actually worked really well on PC. Yeah, because.
To be honest, I was playing
headphones
on
at
PC,
night.
So true.
Resident Evil 7 I played on PC. I also played it on the other platforms, but I actually quite liked it on PC.
So the game's coming out on 7th May 2021. And the other big news, and again, yes, these all came out in the leaks, but I didn't really go through the leaks. I don't know if you did either, Swinny, but that there's a multiplayer game. So it's not just a mode, it's a multiplayer game that's coming out that is free if you have Resident Evil 8.
Yeah, my take on that is the same take I had with with GTA Online. To me, like, unless you release it as a standalone product, which they did with GTA Online later, at the start, it's just a multiplayer mode, but they just want to call it something separate.
That's all it is.
I think they're releasing it as a separate game. I think you can buy it.
Well,
they said it comes free with the game, but they didn't go into the details of whether you can still buy it separately. I'm assuming you probably can.
That's what they did with GTA Online, but yet, that's a shared achievement list of GTA 5. It's just the multiplayer mode. Now, if they release it standalone, I understand from a marketing perspective they do it. It just annoys me from a semantics. Like, it is the multiplayer mode of it, just like...
It is, but it's a completely different game.
Oh yeah, of course it's
like it looks different. One's cartoony, one's realistic horror.
Does look really different.
It's a completely separate thing. I can see it being just part of the game.
It's the same thing as what they did with Resident Evil 3 remake. So anyway,
yeah, but that was based on that engine though. This looks completely different.
It's still using the engine. It just looks different.
I have a lot of thoughts on this game because I'm a huge fan of Resident Evil 4. Back in the day, I played it on multiple platforms. I'm a huge fan of Resident Evil 7, which is quite a different game.
Yeah.
So, starting off with what we're just talking about now, the multiplayer component felt like some little crappy mobile game that almost made no sense. Random characters that are normally with each other, trying to kill each other. It just looked cheap. The animations weren't great.
Yeah.
It just felt like they outsourced it to a separate studio, paid relatively little money for it, I reckon, used a hell of a lot of the assets that they already had, and just created this thing just to get some multiplayer in it, as opposed to doing a proper multiplayer job. But I'll reserve my judgment. It could end up being fun. It just doesn't look great.
I don't think we're alone in just wondering why the hell Capcom still keeps trying to make Resident Evil multiplayer thing. Like, they've done it so many times. Umbrella Corps being the worst example of it all, but that was a standalone thing. But
I feel like you could make a good co-op Resident Evil game. I do believe you could do that.
They've done them before, and some of them people have liked. But in terms of competitive multiplayer,
it's
nuts.
Yeah.
It's not the mechanics system. It's like
it's the problem. That's the mechanics. Yeah, the mechanics is not designed for fluid, fun multiplayer. I mean, it works, but it just doesn't really.
I have zero interest in RE-verse, but getting back to Resident Evil Village, so they also announced, and I was excited as a newly minted PS5 owner, that there was a PS5 exclusive demo called Maiden.
Indeed.
Now, prior to the show, you were the only known PS5 owner. So you obviously played through all of it, right, Mike, for the show?
Yep, all of 10 minutes that it took to finish.
Oh, you did actually play through it. I thought you were.
Yeah, I finished it.
Okay.
Of course I was.
I did as well.
I wasn't going to. How long did it take you? Let's talk about it quickly. I think.
Why is it about length? It's not all about length.
Yeah, I know. But
Go on, Mike.
It wasn't. It didn't really have much girth either, because everything is just so confined.
It's very linear. Yeah.
It's very linear, very corridory. Now, it looked great. It was exactly what I expected. The graphics were, I mean, it felt like, you know, the graphics were the graphics that I remembered in Resident Evil 7. It was super short, so it was more like a tech demo just to showcase and introduce some of the characters, and you don't know who the protagonist is, so you don't even know if you're playing as the actual protagonist from the main game, Ethan.
No, so you know, they've already said that, so you're not. Obviously.
Okay, there you go.
You played through it, right? You're obviously
not
playing
but
as that protagonist.
No, but it didn't really say that in the game. So I'm saying, like, I just assumed it wasn't him because it wasn't introduced as that. No,
you're playing as a female. You're maiden. You're a maiden. It's all women.
And without spoiling anything, but I assume by now people may have played it, you meet some of the antagonists in the game.
Well, you meet the antagonist that everyone's frothy about on the internet. The very tall vampire lady.
Frothy, the Romanian vampire lady.
Exactly.
And her 3 daughters, I believe it is.
Okay.
Anyway, so that part was really cool, and I like the little details. So the lady, I think her name is Lady Dimitrescu.
Yeah.
And the little details are interesting because I actually probably spent about half my game time looking at wine bottles, trying to see if it's possible to decipher what it says, and and it actually is. So the wine bottle translated from Romanian to English says Red Queen. So like they've actually even added little details like that, I think. So I'm hoping throughout the game there's a few more, you know, proper. Now the locale, we don't know where this village is. It's obviously in some place in Eastern Europe, and in Resident Evil 4 I don't think they ever talked about exactly where that village was.
I think they said it was Eastern
Europe.
Maybe
they did. Yeah, but not like the actual location or even the country that it's located or anything. It's like a fictional sort of thing. But it's clearly inspired with vampires and stuff. The only thing that I on that point that I don't know how I feel about is there was definitely a stark difference between how Resident Evil 4 played and the mechanics, the fact that it was a bit more arcadey, actually quite a bit more arcadey, with, you know, like realistic horror elements, but it was more of an arcade game. Whereas Resident Evil 7 went to a first-person, full-on horror. Whereas this is trying to be a bit of both. And I'm not going to say anything yet because I don't know. I'm totally on the fence about this. I loved 7. I loved 4 because of their own different ways of approaching a game. But this, combining both elements, I don't know how it's going to work.
Combining both, what are you basing that on?
Basing it on the fact that, you know, the way you upgrade weapons. So number 7 felt like a more realistic horror survival experience. Whereas this feels like you're going to get a bunch of guns. You're going to get the Duke, I think he's called, which is the stranger from number 4. And the mechanic of upgrading stuff like that. It's supernatural horror. So it's gone away from number 7, which was a lot more... realistic.
Number 7 had a lot of supernatural stuff.
It had a lot more supernatural stuff. But I feel like it was still tame.
It didn't have werewolves, but it still had crazy stuff happening.
Yeah, but this is more. This is like full on, you know, people turning into fucking insects and flying away, and vampires and bloody werewolves and all sorts of shit. Like, I think it's a different kind of game. It's not a zombie kind of game. It's more arcadey. And the one thing that I found really interesting is it wasn't in the demo, but in the actual footage it showed it, the crosshair and elements like that, which I think just don't fit the kind of survival horror game. I would turn the crosshair off straight away. It's like this giant distracting cross in the middle of your screen. It just ruins the whole immersion factor of it. And little elements like that I think are going to be interesting. And I don't know if they're... I mean, it's obviously a conscious decision. And if I'm not mistaken, RE7 had 2 producers. Only one of them was left on this, and another producer, a new producer, Paul. I think it was Paul. I had notes on it. I actually kept some notes on this one. Believe it or not. Peter. So Peter Fabiano was the new one. So I don't know if, you know, they obviously sat down and made a conscious decision to go down a different path to do Resident Evil 7, but also like a spiritual successor to Resident Evil 4. So it might be good. We'll see when it comes out. If it's too arcadey, too actiony. But maybe that's a good thing. Maybe it just gets more people to play it as well. So,
as I say, I get scared shitless in these games, and I played only like 15 minutes of Resident Evil 7, then I got too scared and uninstalled it. And then I pretty much only played this demo. Number one, you know, it'd be good to chat about it on the show, given that I just got a PS5. But also because they said, there's no combat in this game. So I'm like, oh, okay, it won't be scary then. And I started playing it. I'm like, oh man, I'm scared already.
Really? Man, I did not a single. In fact, you know when
I had to tell myself,
the lady appears,
this is a video game. This is a video game.
It's a video game, dude. I was playing it at night, had the light switched off, and when I'm not going to say what, but there's a certain part where there's a character on the stairs. And you're supposed to be shocked and scared by it. I'm like, hey, come back, lady, come back. And I started running after her. So I think it's also the way you approach the game. I just wanted to make out with the hot vampire lady. Come on.
It does look cool. I don't know if I'm going to get it when it launches.
It looks good, yeah.
But it's always hard because these games go on sale so aggressively.
Can I just... So I kept a little...
Can't see
it. You can't see it. It doesn't matter anyway. I kept a tally of the number of times they either said the word pre-order in their trailer.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Or they had it on screen. They said it 5 times, which doesn't seem like a lot, but it felt like a lot. It's like you're just constantly being reminded, hey, pre-order this game, pre-order this game, pre-order this game. And they had it on screen 3 times, including if you bothered to actually watch
I'm trying to understand why that's a new thing. I mean, just think back to
it's not a new thing.
Think back to shareware days, like that stuff.
Yeah, I know that. But
you couldn't even quit the game without it forcing these things that you...
I get that. But all I'm saying is now, people, we've been burnt enough, even very recently with a certain game that I happen to really love, and I pre-ordered and I didn't give a shit. I really enjoyed it, but before you pre-order this game, just have a think about it. Do you really want to pre-order it? Maybe just wait. See what it's like when it comes out. It's probably going to be good. Looks great.
I think that's
if it plays like 7 and 4. No, but just hold off. Just because they keep telling you 50 times to pre-order it. Don't run out and pre-order it straight away.
Are you saying hold off because you think this game will be buggy, or you just don't like the idea of pre-orders in general? Because
let's not go down that rabbit hole because we could talk about it for hours.
No, I don't think any recent Resident Evil games have been super buggy at launch. That's
no. Sorry, I'm not trying to say it's buggy necessarily. I'm just trying to say, is it going to be a good game? Probably. If it's even if it's a mishmash between multiple types of games, which I think this will be, it's still probably be a great game, and I'm more than likely going to get it.
Okay.
But I'm just saying, in general, with pre-ordering. And let's not go down that rabbit hole. I think we should have a whole segment on it. Just be wary of it. Don't fork out $100. Just wait. Like, it's still going to be $100 when you get it anyway. So
there's almost never a benefit of pre-ordering a standard edition of a game. Whereas with your world, in the amount of collector's editions you have, it is a bit of a gamble. It's like, if you don't pre-order those things, often they'll just sell out. Like,
yeah, of course.
And the ones you really want are the ones that sell out. Because the ones that are still available, like The Last of Us Part 2 is still available, Doom Eternal, you can still get that collector's edition.
There's a benefit.
Probably cheaper now too.
There's a benefit if it's a game with a limited release, which I tend to buy a lot on release day.
Yeah,
so things like from European developers and stuff, they generally JB Hi-Fi may only get 2 or 3 copies on release.
Yeah, of course, stuff like that. Absolutely.
Well, we're not. Okay. Yeah, I should say, we're not talking about
AAA titles and stuff. Yeah.
I don't think you're going to struggle to find Resident Evil Village at your local EB game.
Oh, of course
I don't think so.
Yeah.
And it definitely feels like the kind of game that will go down in price. 7 went down in price fairly quickly from memory.
7's free on lots of stuff, right? So yeah, I still haven't got through 7, but this does look really, really cool. So
it's worth playing 7. 7's really cool. One last thing I really want to quickly say about this, speaking of scary, is they made no mention of VR.
Yeah, because there's no PSVR, man. They're waiting for that.
Well, I know. So I can kind of see why I guess they haven't announced it. And they probably will introduce it later like they did with number 7. I never played 7 properly in VR, but from the bits that I played, it's incredible. Like it's the kind of game that's just so good for VR.
I've got some stuff about VR. We'll talk about it later because there's a story about VR as the last story. All right, let's get into the next story, which is starting our acquisition stories, which is the stack. My favorite publisher, the Italian publisher 505 Games, has bought out Australian puzzle RPG developer Infinity Plus 2. This is quite a small acquisition, isn't it, Swinny? It's like $4 or $5 million, which is so cheap, really.
It is, and this the reason why I put this at the top of the acquisition stories is because
I know why.
Well, because I'm very familiar with the games from this developer, and I actually really enjoy the work that they do. So they're based in St Kilda in Melbourne. And just like we'll also talk about another Aussie developer from Melbourne next story, but they were previously known as Infinite Interactive, which a lot of people may know as the more well-known name because that was what they developed the Puzzle Quest and Puzzle Quest 2 games under. Whereas essentially they've been Infinity Plus 2 in the era of Gems of War, which is their big current game. But yeah, they're very much known for the puzzle RPG games. My favorite being actually Puzzle Chronicles, which was a not very well known game that was released in the 360 era, but I actually liked the mechanics of it quite a bit. But yeah, they acquired it for 4.5 million, and a couple of days later, they announced Puzzle Quest 3, which is awesome, but has a caveat. Puzzle Quest and Puzzle Quest 2 are very well regarded, but they're games that you buy, they're standalone. Okay, cool. Gems of War is this huge free-to-play game across consoles and mobile that I sunk, honestly, a lot of money into. And I just couldn't keep up with. They added 23 title updates with achievements to this game. 23 title updates. To the point where there's another one and everyone's just like, oh no, we have to go back to this game again because it's a fun game, but at some point you're like, I just want to be done with it. But
Can we just go back to a sec? How much did you actually sink into this game?
I don't know. It's the only free-to-play game.
What's the ballpark?
Ballpark.
I don't know.
It wasn't a free game, obviously. It was absolutely not a free game, clearly.
It was easily the cost of what you'd buy a game for.
For like $100. You sunk $100 into this game.
I don't think it was quite that much, but
was it like $90?
Maybe $60 or $80. I probably sunk more, but
60 or 80.
So there's actually
This is Mike with how many versions of Cyberpunk, including a console version that doesn't even work.
But
I've got 5. Thank you very much.
But I really liked the game, and I'm like, okay, I want to complete it, and this is going to be and I was happy to support them because they're Australian. And also, I liked
you guys.
Yeah, and I liked the Puzzle Quest games. There's actually a pretty funny story. There's I don't watch a lot of Rooster Teeth stuff, but there's a guy from Rooster Teeth by the name of Jeff. I think he's one of the founders, and he would always
really have teeth.
He would actually talk about Gems of War all the time, and he's like, "Oh man, I finally finished this game," and then they had an achievement that's named after him. That's like, sorry, Jeff,
really?
Or something like that.
That's awesome. That's a real Aussie sense of humor.
Yeah,
it's
really cool.
I would love to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So I reckon this. I don't know how I feel about this, but if we know that Australian game development industry has always struggled quite a bit, and you've got these developers like they've been around since I think about mid-2000s, and not quite as long as the next Aussie developer we'll talk about. They're a bit older, but we know that there's so many businesses that just go under because the industry just isn't great here. So if this helps keep it alive, then I'm all for it. But
yeah, I'm kind of sorry, go.
No, I'm just saying, but I don't know. We'll see how. My hope is that they don't essentially just acquire them and take the IP.
So this is my worry. So my worry is exactly that. It's twofold. And the second thing is, all of a sudden, if most of the Aussie companies or Aussie gaming companies are actually just owned by foreign entities, it's not really. I feel like it's not really that Aussie company anymore. And the orders that they take and where the profits go, I feel like instead, we need more lobbying to get the Australian government to support the gaming component of, and I know we do some of that, but I feel like we don't do enough.
They don't care about. They don't.
I know they don't care about it, but at least then you keep it.
Mike, just to jump in there, so it's like the opposite. If anything, they actually removed a grant that
ridiculous
Team Cherry used to develop Hollow Knight. So they actually, that was helpful for them. And there's some other games recently as well. It was Untitled Goose Game that also had support from the Victorian government to get made, but they're actually reversing a lot of those things, and they're putting it into TV and film in Australia, which to me is the opposite. It doesn't need that at all because some of the big productions are coming here because they get tax breaks.
Exactly.
And honestly, like, gaming is so much more interactive. You can have a team like Team Cherry, which nominally is 3 people, make a game that I know you guys don't love, but it is loved by a lot of people.
Oh yeah, it's a great game. Just
3 guys making that, so.
It's an absolute
to me, it's very logical to support that, So
it is. And so this is why I get annoyed. The fact that I'm not so much annoyed at this acquisition or anything like that. I'm just annoyed that these massive international companies come over, gobble up Australian IPs, gobble up Australian companies, instead of us actually investing that money locally, and then you get tax back. You think these companies are going to love paying a hell of a lot of tax in Australia? Probably not. There's all these things that I think are just negative about this whole thing.
I will clarify, I don't know if the Puzzle Quest IP is owned by them. My assumption it is, but I don't know if that is the case. So I just want to make sure that, I didn't say that on 100%.
And the last thing I just want to say on it, and I'm not like correcting you, Swinny, but because I don't think you mean it in the way you're saying it maybe, but I think the gaming industry in Australia is very good. There's a lot of good people in the industry. It's just not structured very well in a way that supports big studios.
I guess I'm still thinking like 10 to 15 years ago when we had a whole bunch of
Team
studios
Bondi
closed down. Yeah, but even like Infogrames was here, like Atari set up shop here. Like there's a whole bunch of stuff that just probably was never going to work.
Well,
but
to me, this is kind of like closing a studio down in some ways, because you're effectively just now. Well, no. Look,
they just announced a new game.
What? Hang on a minute. I think the people that get to work on this are of course living in Australia. Great, that's awesome. But there's no difference between this and you working for Amazon US and working remotely from Australia. It's the same shit, right? These they now belong, and everything they do is now governed probably and dictated by a company overseas. It's not really an Australian development studio anymore in that sense.
I think when I mentioned the caveat Puzzle Quest 3 before, I think I forgot to actually completely say the caveat was that it's free to play. And I started going off about Gems of War.
So everyone's very nervous about that game because it's free to play. And
well, if it's anything like Gems of War, then they know it'll be well supported. But it's really, we'll see whether or not the design is.
It'll be well supported by the whales, but then the general public may not like it, right?
No, I'm saying well supported because they supported Gems of War updates for years and years and years.
Look, like maybe it's not your take, Swinny, but my take is like there's a lot of good talent in Australia for game dev.
Oh, that's not what I meant, but
I just think I think Australia it just would find it very, very difficult to support AAA title development. It has done that in the past, like LA Noire is the example that most people go to, but I think even with these stories, you get to see a lot more indies in Australia, and I wish the government would support them a lot more because I think there's a lot of folk out there that can make a lot of really cool stuff. And maybe let's get on to the next Aussie acquisition. It's a bit dark.
Yep, the big one too.
Yeah, no so this intended. Is Nacon, a French publisher, have acquired Big Ant Studios. So they're based in South Bank, Melbourne, and they're famous for the cricket and tennis titles. So Australian Open 1 and 2. And then also the cricket titles, so the Ashes and basically all the big cricket games that have come out in the last decade. They've developed all of them. They've also done a lot of port work for the Spyro series, and then also Halfbrick, which is a Brisbane developer in Australia, who make Jetpack Joyride and the Fruit Ninja games. So they were acquired for a maximum price of $54.8 million. Is that Aussie dollars or
Good
US
question.
dollars?
I'll see
probably
if I
US.
Can. I imagine it is
US. And it wasn't in cash.
US, okay.
Obviously, a component of that was in shares.
Okay.
Over X amount of years, and it wasn't just like here's $54 million off you go.
There was a lot of like financial information. I'm just going to take what was in the headline of the Kotaku article.
I feel like this is something Integot would be more across with this finance background.
I think like all of this stuff, and I've said it in other shows, you get to see so much consolidation in the gaming industry because, for us, we've always followed gaming, more you guys for consistency. But gaming is becoming massive. Like even in the last couple of years, it's grown by like 20 to 40% from a revenue perspective, which is bonkers given that it was already bigger than Hollywood. So a lot of money is going into it, and people are just going, why are there like these little studios that are developing well-known games? It's from an economic point of view, it makes no sense because, they've got to have to spend money on all these peripheral things like marketing, PR, all this kind of stuff, which is not the core of what they do. So from an economic perspective, it makes sense that the publishers go, well, we can scale that up. You don't need to do that kind of stuff. Just make the game. So I just feel like this whole year we're going to hear heaps of these stories, heaps of these small devs getting, and then my prediction would be you're going to see more of these smaller publishers, almost these, AA size publishers get swallowed up by the bigger publishers as well. So I feel like the whole year is going to be populated with that kind of stuff.
And interestingly, Nacon's actually publishing my number 2 most anticipated game of 2021, which is Still Rising. So,
interesting. I'm not very familiar with the European publishers like 505 and Nacon and stuff like that. What were you about to say, Mike?
No, I was going to say again, I just wish we kept it local.
Keep it
I'm
local.
a filthy immigrant, but I'm very passionate about trying to keep things local. I try to buy as much local stuff as I can. Locally grown fruit. I'm just very.
What's the Romanian?
Most fruit in Australia is locally grown.
What's the game development scene like in Romania? Have they got any developers?
I actually think they do. They're surprisingly really, really big on tech, which is why they have.
I might look it up.
They have. I don't know how big they are in games. They do have Ubisoft. I know they worked on stuff like. What was that dogfighting, the plane game
Squadron?
That Ubisoft did? No, Ubisoft. It's like a Sky
Don't know.
Hawk X or something. I forget what the name of it was. So I know they worked. They did a bunch of games. Hawks. That's the one. I don't know if they're big on it. They're big on tech in general. Like one of the biggest antivirus software is Bitdefender, which is a Romanian company.
Romanian. Damn, that's cool.
Yeah, so there's a lot of little things, which is also why I think the government invested money in their internet infrastructure for them to, at one stage, they were like the 5th fastest or something in the world.
Well, it's better
you
than
wouldn't
Australia,
think that.
that's for sure.
Oh yeah, it's still better than Australia. It's insane. I mean, there's literally people, and I'm not even kidding you. There are literally people right now, probably. Well, I don't know about the time zone, but you know what I mean. That are on a horse and cart, because there's still quite a lot of people that literally have horses.
By
and
the way,
carts
can I just quickly say
I'm not making this up.
Romanian. You're Romanian, so you're allowed.
Even
to
if
say
I wasn't,
this.
I'll still say this shit. But I am. So I'll bag out the Eastern Europeans as much as I want. So there are literally, like last time I went to Eastern Europe, I still saw that stuff. I saw people with their family on a horse and a cart, just going along in the village. And they pull out their phone, they pull out their iPhone or whatever they have, and they've got a faster internet connection on that thing than we have in Australia. It's insane.
By the way, I found an article from 2015, so it could be very outdated, but apparently quite a few publishers like Ubisoft, Gameloft, King, that make Candy Crush, even EA, they've had studios and people working from Romania before on different games. So that's pretty cool. So.
Yeah.
But you know what? This is the thing. Because it's cheap labor. It's, people are
relatively, it would be,
Dude, but people are just equally smart in Romania as they are in Germany, but they're 1/3 the price.
Pretty much.
And I mean, to be honest, CD Projekt Red, it's in Poland, and the wages are about 1/3 of California game dev companies.
Hey, Assassin's Creed Rogue was developed in part in Romania, so there you go.
Interesting. There you go. Why not something new?
And you're right, man. Hawks is definitely on this list as well. So yeah.
Cool. Okay, there you go. Right, That's the only one I remember.
Let's
that Agent 47 was born in Romania.
Let's round out our acquisition news with some news that I've got my eye very well kept on. So Opera. So as far as I am aware, like I only know them as a web browser manufacturer, and one that almost no one else knows about, apart from nerds like me, have bought GameMaker studio developers YoYo Games.
It's really interesting.
I don't think there was a disclosed sum of how much they bought it for, but
shillings, mere shillings.
I didn't even know about this, but Opera is now moving away from just trying to compete directly with Firefox and Chrome, which to me is a pretty smart idea. And they're really trying to find the niche of a gaming browser. So the idea is you jump in there, and what they're reporting is that you can minimize everything. So you can minimize the CPU usage, the RAM usage. And, something that I don't really appreciate enough of, there's a lot of people that play games in the browser.
I'll just clarify, it's a special version of the Opera browser called Opera GX. And if you actually look up screenshots or on their website, like it actually looks pretty cool, like if that's what the default is. It looks really neat.
Yeah,
but it makes sense, right? Because
I installed it on my PC, right? And I uninstalled it pretty quickly.
Why?
Well, because I really like a browser experience
to be able to browse.
Gets out of my way. Like it had like a sidebar, top bar, and I started customizing it. I'm like, oh my God. But the one thing I will say is it does.
But you can still go to like Pornhub and stuff on this thing, right?
God, I gotta edit the hell out of this video.
What's wrong with that? It's a website. Everyone knows about it.
I just want it to get out of my way, and I just want to be able to like browse or go on Twitch or do all that stuff. It does have really cool things like picture-in-picture is like default baked into it, all the ad blocking stuff. It does have a lot of stuff on, how much each tab is using, how much RAM and stuff like that, but I don't really know why I need to know that.
No, probably not.
Look, but it makes a lot of sense from a business point of view to go, we need to be different.
Exactly.
But I don't know. Like the whole HTML gaming thing to me is like a scene that I'm just not familiar with, but it's pretty big.
But it could be so I think maybe they're seeing the emergence of streamed gaming. And I think they kind of went exactly what you said. Well, we can't really compete against massive behemoths of well-established browsers. Why would people download Opera? What's the niche market that we could get into and be the pioneer and be the number one in that? And I feel like it's a smart move getting into something like that. And it's a really smart move gobbling up things like YoYo Games for tighter browser integration. Because if I'm not mistaken, one of the options you can download for GameMaker is the ability to publish into HTML5.
Oh yeah, definitely. That's
so I can kind of see the link and the tie-in. And
I probably should say from the start, because the reason why I'm so interested in this is because I've got GameMaker Studio 2. I use it a lot, and I'm using it to develop a game which I'm trying to publish this year. So for me, the fate of this studio and what they're doing,
one-man studio,
is
settle
like
down there,
really
Juan.
Going, whoa, geez, like I hope they stick around. I hope they don't move away because
Team One.
Team One. That's what you should call your studio.
No, I've already got a name for it. Should I tell you the name?
Yeah, what's the name?
It's called YoYo Games.
Yeah, that actually makes perfect sense. I get it.
So, yeah, like I'm really nervous that something's going to happen to YoYo Games because I need them. Because what I would say is GameMaker Studio and then probably Godot are like really, really good pieces of software for people who
is that
want
like
to...
Gal Godot? Is it spelled the same?
Yeah.
Godot.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, I think it is.
But I don't think you're meant to say Godot for her, right? You're meant to say Godot, right?
I thought it's Godot.
Anyway,
Every time
I see her, I'm speechless and I can't say anything anyway.
You're breathtaking.
She's so hard.
So yeah, for me, it's really important. And GameMaker, people have built like really amazing games with it, like Undertale, Rivals of Aether, Hyper Light Drifter, Downwell, like Splunky, like
really
heaps of amazing games. So it's a very good system. If you want to
come out AFL game,
yeah, exactly. I think it's like if you don't have as much time, it's an amazing game, and you're very small. Like I wouldn't recommend it if you're trying to make a big game. Like you definitely want to use something like a Unity or Unreal Engine.
You reckon you can make Cyberpunk in it?
No, I don't think so. Okay. And it's also very much like, are you making a 2D game? If you're making a 2D game, it makes a lot of sense. If you're making a 3D game, Godot would be what I'd choose.
Or Unity.
There's some brilliant games that
amazing games.
Oh yeah, hell yeah.
Look, amazing what they've done. I hope this actually just means it's gonna get even more investment and even more, energy behind it.
I reckon it will.
They're staying in Scotland. Yeah, and I hope nothing happens to it because, to be honest, if anything negative happens, because I do want to publish this on Switch at least, and just say like they remove that functionality and only make it HTML and Windows, man, that would really annoy me. Like that would really, really annoy me. It could happen.
So YoYo devs and owners, we don't care about you. Clearly, it's whatever integot gives a shit about whether it will affect him or not. If you lose your jobs, whatever, we don't care. You guys sold out. Too bad, so sad. As long as he could still make his game by the end of the year.
They're millionaires, man.
Well, we don't know. We don't know. Maybe, like I said at the start of the show, maybe they gave him shillings, shillings.
They're definitely millionaires.
Probably, of course, yeah, and well deserved, I reckon, because it's an amazing tool.
Oh, it's awesome. Because have you decided where you're making your game?
I've decided when I'm making my game, and it will probably be sometime mid-December.
No, but what software are you going to use?
No, GameMaker. I already bought it.
You are making GameMaker?
Yeah, I bought it. When he told me about it, I went straight onto the website. I hit that buy button, and
that doesn't mean you made a game. Even though I shouldn't judge too much because I haven't done that much on my game.
Well, I don't know. I think you've done a hell of a lot more than I did. which is to stare at a blank screen, deciding if I should double click the GameMaker icon to start it.
I don't know if it's got a good point and click. You're going to make a point and click game, right?
No. If I was going to go down the adventure path game, there's a different engine I was going to use.
What kind of game are you going to make?
I'm probably going to go down the card making game, like a card game. Like think Slay the Spire.
Nice.
Something that's I wouldn't say achievable, but more realistic.
That is more realistic. It
definitely isn't achievable, but yeah.
Yeah. And when are you going to make a game, Swinny?
Yeah, Swinny. Another one.
I'm happy to consume games, not make them, not create them.
What happened to your RPG that you made?
Yeah.
It's
What's it called again?
Vanguard,
Tales of the Swinny?
It was called Vanguard Hearts.
Vanguard Hearts, that's it.
That's a
cool name.
That's like such an RPG name.
Really cool name. It's a total RPG
that's what
game,
it was, but that's what it was meant to be.
I know.
Well, it wasn't
like
RPG.
It's a negative.
So I was using RPG Maker 2000, and
We're old.
I probably sunk into... I don't know, about maybe, I reckon over 1,000 hours into making that thing. And I had a lot of fun, so it's not like it wasn't wasted. I had a lot of fun doing it.
Yeah, of course.
I just realized
that's what it's about in the end.
What I
where
wanted
is
to
it?
do...
The experience.
Oh, it's probably stored on some old hard
still
drive
have
somewhere. It's
Some
probably
floppy disks somewhere.
It may be on a hard drive that's failed now, so maybe I've lost it, but I don't know.
Maybe I could
just like
port it. Maybe I could
200 bitcoins.
I'm happy. Like, I even sat there
it.
using their if then statement builder thing to actually create a custom battle sequences and stuff, which a lot of people did. But a lot of people did that. They're a lot better at that kind of stuff than me. So I felt like I achieved some cool stuff in it.
Well, you learned scripting from that. I remember.
Well,
you were like forced to.
Scripting within the RPG Maker 2000 kind of world. Yeah.
No,
you really got into it. It was amazing. I remember playing the demo of that.
No joke, legit. Like, Swinny has done more game dev than us two combined.
Yeah. Well, way more, actually.
And, even if I release a game by the end of the year, that still would be true.
That would still probably be true. Well, I don't know. We'll see how many hours we put into this thing.
1,000 hours is
we'll
half
split it
a
up.
year full-time job.
500 each. 500 hours each.
That's
combined
still a
effort
quarter of a full-time job for a year.
Yeah, I know. We're screwed. There's no way we can beat that. We cannot beat that.
All right, let's move on to the next story. I'm very excited. We've had all business stuff, acquisitions. I love that kind of stuff. And then now, Amiibo. So we had this funny announcement about this competition in Japan, which is of a gold variant Amiibo for the Monster Hunter Rise game. So the three...
Ooh, so excited. Ooh, wow, look out.
These are amazing.
I'm just falling back on my... I can't actually fall back on my chair because...
This is not actually the first time they've done this. So with Monster Hunter Stories, they also did a gold and silver Amiibo as a promotion. I believe also at 7-Eleven. And then you've also had a gold Mega Man 11 Amiibo. Well, I'd just love to see these Amiibo because I wonder, they haven't said how many they're making. They've only said that as part of the competition, there's 711 prizes total, but that's not the Amiibo 711. They're a component of all the prizes you can get in this competition. So do you reckon I should go on to the Yahoo? Because Yahoo, for whatever reason, is the biggest. Yahoo's like the eBay for Japan. That's where all the auctions happen on Yahoo.
Interesting. Didn't know that.
Should I jump on Yahoo auctions in translation mode and buy some of these?
Yeah, buy some. Review them. Waste your money on it.
Just still surprised Yahoo is a thing. Like, I guess in Japan it must be because of all the... Do you remember that comedian, Japanese comedian, Hard Gay Ramen?
Yeah.
Yeah, remember he goes to the Yahoo offices? He's like, Yahoo!
Guess it's well marketed over there compared to everywhere else.
Man.
I'm actually checking this because you guys can't tell my wife this, but
tell your wife what?
I'm very nervous because you know how I always do bidding on eBay for Amiibo.
Oh yes.
There's a very rare Amiibo, which is Box Boy. I don't know if you can see this. I'm just trying to make sure I don't show any details that I shouldn't. So there's like this Box Boy Amiibo, and I stupidly was like, okay, these normally sell for like $400, so I'll just bid like $100 on it.
The heck?
Which I always thought like $100. That's ridiculous. I'm not going to pay $100 for it, right?
It is ridiculous.
But what I'm very nervous about is no one's bidding on it. Right? So I'm like, holy shoot! Like I'm gonna end up.
You might actually spend $100. Well, hey, look, if they're worth more than that, then go ahead. Why don't you? Here's a better idea. Why don't you stop talking about bloody amiibos on this podcast and instead start an amiibo dedicated website, Twitter. It'll be called like Amiibo Watch.
All right.
Something.
Let's move on. Let's move on from this gold story.
I'm kidding, by the way. You can talk about it as much.
Let's move on from Amiibo. Let's move on to the next story. So the next story is, we now know when the Monster Hunter Amiibo are coming to Australia and how you can buy them.
Oh my god! I didn't even look at that part in the run sheet.
So
I knew it was coming.
As I said last week or the week prior, I was like, where is the Monster Hunter Amiibo? What's happening with them? Because Nintendo specifically said, Nintendo Australia said they're coming to Australia, but we've got to announce it at a later date how they're coming to Australia. And also recently, and I've got it in the video, Nintendo in Australia took down their eBay page because they had an official eBay account. And I've bought things from Nintendo eBay.
Yeah, why?
Why did I buy stuff from Nintendo eBay?
I know why you buy stuff from Nintendo eBay. That's a rhetorical question. Why did they take it down?
Oh, it's obvious because, if you sell on eBay, it's like a 15% commission ballpark.
It's 10, but yeah.
No, it depends on how you sell. But whereas if they sell it directly on their website, there's none of those sort of like, middlemen.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And their shipping is really expensive. And also, like, their free shipping levels are ridiculous. It's like $80 you need to spend to get free shipping.
And not just Australia. That, the pricing of the controllers, the SNES controllers, I think, was $79.95.
No, I don't think that's right.
Yeah, and there was nothing of the NES controllers, the two NES controllers. The normal retail price was, unless they're on special at the moment, probably, but they were $79.95. So you couldn't even get those on free shipping, and you can't buy anything for 5 cents.
I know
like, no, I can't get these.
No. The NES controller is $39.95.
Australian?
The SNES controller is $39.95, but the NES controller,
the NES controller is
$79.95.
Yeah, that's right. So
I've got both of those, by the way.
Of course you do. Yeah. I'm not. Look at my face. Do I look surprised? No.
So with the Monster Hunter Amiibo, the only issue or thing about it is they said that they'll be released and available on the 26th of March when the game comes out. Why is that an issue, sorry? Well, it's just because they're not very specific with it. You can't pre-order it. Normally with Amiibo, like anything that's limited, you pre-order it, as Swinny was saying earlier in the show. Pre-order it, then you've locked it in, sweet. But with these, it's no pre-order. And with Nintendo, they're really bad with their online store. It's very easy to just like buy multiple things.
Well, but that's the problem with pre-orders. I actually think it's better if it's just launched to people that go there, they'll get it. Whether it's in the store,
then you get people like me with bots and stuff like that. So
I mean, yeah, I guess you have to sell it online. But I wish,
I'm just on the new My Nintendo store for Australia, and they've got the Super Mario Home and Party 8-bit party design tablecloth.
Yeah.
For $48.
How much?
A tablecloth.
Hey, laugh it up. Integot already has it. What do you think he's podcasting from? He doesn't just use any regular tablecloth. Come on.
I do need to buy some stuff, so I'm going to wait until the Amiibo come out, and then I can just pull it all together into one transaction. So
and then justify the shipping.
Well, it's free.
Yeah. It's free already. That's right. Yeah.
Well, will be.
You can always get the tablecloth if you need to, bump it up a little.
Because I want to get the lanyard for my wife, the little smart card holder lanyard, because she likes that kind of stuff. So, so the new Nintendo store looks really good. They've had it in the US and the UK for a long, long time now. So it's good that we have it over here. And you can also get rewards there as well. So if you have a certain amount of platinum coins, you can actually convert them into free items. So I really actually want to get the Zelda shield or the Link shield, Hylian shield for the back of the smartphone, so it can stand up, a little ring holder thing.
I really like the Boo sleep mask. It looks like Boo covering his eyes.
I do like that as well.
It's $30, so
I know it's so much.
You could probably just make your own somehow, but looks.
I wish they had a mask. I really wish they had a mask. If they had a mask, I'd definitely get it, like an official Nintendo mask. Something about that just make me laugh. So yeah, there you go, Mike. No more Amiibo news. Just
I know
moved up from it.
I know he's.
That's such a shame, man. All these shills with their bloody Nintendo products. Why do people waste money on this crap?
Mike, you know that there's a lot of people that appreciate us talking about Amiibo on this show.
I know that.
And you've just pissed them all off.
Mike, come on. I will double down. I'm not going to do what those companies do where they go back and they take... No, I'm doubling down. Screw all of you.
We're going to lose half our subscribers now, you know.
I'd say Mike causes even more than half of our angry comments on YouTube. Like he had an angry comment about Arcade 1-Up saying like, doesn't he know he's just like been under a rock? Are you out of the loop? They've sold 2 million cabs. Anyway.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of people who buy a lot of stupid shit, you know.
Oh god,
it's just like
so there's a visual.
And, you know, people buy stupid crap. What am I supposed to do about that?
For the audio listeners, there's a visual gag because Mike has got his little POW. He's like Mario Brothers POW coffee cup right now that he's holding up. It actually looks like a terrible coffee cup because it's got a flat edge.
Dude, it's absolutely crap.
While we're having a go at our listeners, can I have a go at the Contra board game commenters?
No, let's move on. All right.
By the way,
Mike,
hang on.
Mike, I need you for the next
listeners. I'm only kidding. I buy a lot of trash.
Oh, that's even worse than the.
A lot of things that I say are in jest.
He's got this like micro.
I got a little micro Pac-Man. It doesn't even play Pac-Man. It's just a clock.
It's a bad.
Who makes these things?
At least it's there's more usefulness to that than the Super Mario Game & Watch.
I knew you were going to bring that up.
A bloody pillow. What am I supposed to even do?
All right, come on, Mike. Let's move on because we're running long already. All right. So in our final piece of news, we had a report from Bloomberg. So this is from Mark Gurman, who is the biggest Apple leaker or reporter, breaks a lot of stories of new things that Apple are working on, sometimes wrong, so we have to take it with a grain of salt, but it appears that Apple have long-term view to develop AR technology, but prior to that, they are going to release, as early as next year, a VR headset. And the VR headset they're talking about, in very typical Apple fashion, they said it's going to be significantly or at least moderately more expensive than other units that are available right now. And it's going to be similar to something like the Oculus Quest 2, where it's an all-in-one offering, where it's got a battery, it's got a compute unit, everything's built and integrated into the headset itself, so you don't need a PC to support it. So Mike, as the biggest supporter of VR, even though you never play it, what do you think of this Apple VR unit that is reported to come out next year?
I have one question.
Yeah.
What does it mean when you say take it with a grain of salt? I don't get it. Is it because you're...
That's a good question.
What do you mean?
Well, you just said take it with a grain of salt. Yeah. And I'm like, what does that even mean? Take it with a grain of salt.
It's a saying. Don't you know that saying?
Yeah, but what does it mean? I don't get what it means.
You know what? I sat there and I thought to myself as he said that, I'm like, I don't actually know what that means.
You don't know that saying?
No, I know the saying, but I don't know what it means. But what does it mean? You know,
like, what's the etymology of it?
Yeah, what's the etymology?
I don't know.
Why would you take something with a... Yeah.
I don't know. Am I meant to know all of the etymologies of all the sayings? We don't even know where Fed income comes from. So can I use these words even if we don't know? So like, what do you think of this?
I read the articles. I have a Quest. I have a PSVR. I don't use them enough. I get it, but I'm huge on the whole VR thing in the sense that I think it's going to be big. I really do think.
5 years ago, you were like, VR is going to be the main way that people play.
And I wish I put some, I bought some shares in some VR companies of some sort.
Well, they would have lost money.
I don't. So, from what I've read, this is basically meant to be a thing that's a precursor to AR.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if I necessarily think AR is going to be as big as they think it will be. I have no idea. I was wrong on these things before. It might be the next big thing. Other than Pokemon Go, as you guys said, I just don't see a lot of use that people actually... I see a lot of potential use, but I don't see a lot of actual use of AR technology, even on mobile phones. And that technology exists, and it's fairly advanced already. So having a pair of glasses that does some of that, I can absolutely see the cool things you could do with it. I just don't know what the adoption will be in the short term. Whereas I genuinely think that something like a VR headset or the VR tech, whilst it's a bit more cumbersome in some ways, they've ironed a lot of that stuff out. So, putting the Quest 2 on, not having to have a cable, none of that stuff, it feels good. It feels like, okay, this is finally how I want to play this thing.
Do you have a Quest 2? I thought you had a Quest 1.
No, I've got the original Quest. But it doesn't have wires either.
Did you say clumbersome?
Probably.
I like that.
Probably. Probably. Hey, man, up until I was 12 or something, I didn't know a single word of English other than hello and Mickey Mouse. So shut up. I mispronounced some stuff incorrectly. I'm a filthy immigrant.
I'll take that. I deserve that.
So I don't know. I find it interesting. So I don't get it. And the price, again, speculation. Take it with a grain of salt, whatever the hell that means. I don't know what that means.
It'd be like a grand.
Like a grand? Yeah. A grand isn't really that much for VR, though.
No, dude, minimum.
There's a lot of headsets that are a grand for VR anyway. I think the way I read the articles, it feels like it's more than a grand.
Well, look at their new over-ear headphones. In
That's
Australia,
a grand,
like
and it's just headphones. Yeah. Well,
and
just headphones. Yeah. I shouldn't say it like that because they're probably really good.
No, they're very good. They're very good.
What I think is that people still buy it, but it's definitely becoming a bit more of a niche item. When you can buy, do I spend $1,000 on that, or do I get the 1000 MX3s or the Bose QC35s?
Anyway,
there's cheaper alternatives that are amazing.
Going back.
So anyway, back to VR. I think it's cool. I think it's too much speculation at the moment. I want to see what this thing does when it comes out. There wasn't enough of what differentiates it from other VR products, especially if other VR products are so much cheaper and accessible. So unless you happen to go, well, I don't want to buy a Quest 2 because I hate Facebook and I don't want to do the Facebook integration, and the only other choice I really have for like a standalone device like that is maybe this thing. I don't know why they're doing this if they really are releasing it. So I feel like it's cool to tell people that this thing is coming out, but I feel like we need a bit more information to really assess where they're trying to place it in the market, what they're trying to do with it, what they're hoping to really achieve with this thing. A little too early to say, I think.
Yeah, I think for me, because Oculus is really doing this, and I'm so off Oculus, given that you now have to have a Facebook account and link it all in, and if you get your Facebook account blocked, you can't. No. If you have your Facebook account blocked, it bricks the Oculus. Wait,
the whole Oculus?
Yeah. People are now jailbreaking.
That wouldn't be legal in Australia, surely.
Maybe not, but they'll probably just give you a refund. It doesn't mean that they'll reverse.
Yeah, I'll be fine. I'll have a refund. Get another one.
So yeah, I'm very much off the Oculus, but you can see strategically what they're doing with the Oculus. They're creating Oculus Quest specific games now. Don't even work on the Rift or like older Oculus versions. And I feel like Apple would do the exact same thing. Like, there's no way that Apple would make something that you could just use as a generic PC VR unit.
Of course they will. Yeah.
So they'll have it so that, it's all linked in with the iPhone ecosystem and all that kind of stuff, which I'm just not interested in VR games like that.
All I know is that when this gets announced, the mainstream media and a lot of people will just act like this is a brand new thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll go VR. We have VR. Remember VR in the 90s, kids?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they will.
Apple,
you're right, Sweetie. They'll do that. That'll be so annoying. So yeah, I'm struggling because I don't think the HTC units, for whatever reason, I'm just like, meh. I like the Valve Index, but it's so insanely expensive in Australia.
Yeah.
So I'm pinning my hopes on
PSVR
2. So I'm going to wait until that comes out in a couple of years.
Yeah.
Because then I can play Astro Bot Rescue Mission, and all the rumors are that the PSVR 2 will work on PC natively.
That would be really cool.
Which makes sense, because they're moving a lot of stuff into PC, Sony. So I think that would make a lot of sense if they did that.
I really hope somehow they manage to get rid of the cable, though. I almost feel like it's
very
mandatory for success. It is, especially on the PSVR, more so than the Quest, where it's a single cable that plugs into the PC. It's not that hard. Setting it up and stuff is a bit more annoying. But there's so many cables you got to plug, and there's a separate switch box, and it's a pain in the butt to do it.
I know my mate who he was going to stay with his family up here, but because of the COVID restrictions, couldn't. So then I couldn't play Half-Life Alyx. So I have this game that I can't play now.
And it's too late to refund because it's been past.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, because I got it on sale. But he is the only person I know who is like a devout VR person.
Okay.
He uses it every day. religiously.
For gaming or other things?
Gaming and also just watching media.
Media.
So he'll be in his bed with his wife and have like a headset on.
So he's watching like porn probably while she's right there next to him. I don't know about
this
that.
show so much.
What is wrong with saying that? It's probably what he does.
No, let's just move on. So, he does both in terms of gaming and also watching media. And
media, you keep calling it watching media.
He has a special Wi-Fi router where he can beam it directly to his Quest 2, so with no wires from the PC.
From the PC.
And he says it's
lag free.
He can't even tell the difference between a hard cable and the like. It's like whatever the Wi-Fi standard is, like AC. Wi-Fi 6 or whatever the latest standard is. He's got the latest
1200,
whatever it is. It's like the latest standard for Wi-Fi, and he's like, it's amazing. So that would be really cool if they had that with PSVR 2. If it's just like wireless, it has like, because you don't even, for me personally, I couldn't imagine playing longer than 2 hours, man. I feel like you'd lose your mind.
I have had longer gaming session with Skyrim and stuff VR? Like that. Jeez. Yeah. And it does feel, you get a little, definitely more exhausted than just looking at a normal screen. Yeah. Plus, it fogs up. There's a few little things like that that just. And that was the other thing.
I'm a sweaty boy, so it would definitely.
I am fairly sweaty, and I wear glasses as well. So
there is a
double fog.
That reminds me. There's this So I love watching Giant Bomb stuff, and for their Christmas specials they often have VR. And there's this funny moment where they like passes the VR headset to someone else, and he puts it on, and it just gets like sweat or like all in his eyes and everything from the previous person.
That's what it's probably like.
Oh man, it's disgusting.
Swinny, can we have some outrageous target? Like, I don't know what it is, like 1,000 subscribers on YouTube or whatever you want, Swinny. Where if we breach that threshold, then you have to play Resident Evil 7 VR and we can record you playing.
Why me?
Because you don't want to do it. That's why.
One, you don't want to do it. Two, you're probably more scared than.
I also don't have a way to play it, so
we'll figure that out.
You're the one with the PS4.
You can borrow my. I have the PSVR.
Integot, you're the one with the PS4. Like,
you're the one that's scared of scary games.
Would you be willing to do that, Swinny?
No.
Oh, look at this team player.
Yeah.
All I know is this whole conversation is just making me think we're getting closer to a Demolition Man future.
Yeah.
So 3 seashells.
I got my 3 seashells ready.
No,
which, by the way,
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, specifically, let's go back to the hotel.
No, I wasn't going to go down that track. I was just going to quickly say that in Cyberpunk they have that reference. If you go into your bathroom, there's 3 seashells next to it, which I thought was really cool.
It must be true.
Hey, so the only thing the last thing that I just remembered speaking that we were talking about PSVR. So someone who suffers from ocular retardation. I have astigmatism, and
is that the
apparently
anyway, moving on?
No, I'm pretty sure it's called ocular retardation.
Okay,
I mean, look it up. I'm pretty sure that's the official term for it.
Go on.
Like many scientists agree, that's what it's called. So
he is correct. He is correct. He's not being offensive.
All right, go on.
So what I worry about is that apparently this thing doesn't really have room for glasses and stuff. You can get lenses. So when you buy it, did you see that part? They go, you get custom prescription lenses. And then,
what the
hell? Of course, then they run into the whole prescription issue. But the problem is someone who's got astigmatism, where it's not just about the strength or the negative, positive, far-sighted stuff. It's about the angles and stuff. You literally need special prescriptions that are a certain angle and stuff. And I highly doubt they'll go down that path. Well, they'll make it available for that level of detail.
I think they would, man, because it's Apple.
They would have to, because otherwise you're screwed. People are like, nah, I can't use this stuff.
Apple will look at it and go, how do we get it? So people go into a retail store, they get their eyes tested or whatever.
There'll be some shit like that.
Then they'll have special lenses that they build for it. So then it's all seamless. It's like, take off your glasses and put it on, which is cool.
By the way, I think it's really cool. But how much is that going to cost? Just getting a prescription, it's going to be super expensive. So
I'm going to guess. So this is next year, so we'll probably won't even record the guesses, but I reckon it will cost $1,300 Australian. How much do you think it would be?
I reckon it's going to be 1,499 Australian.
Whoa, okay. Jeez.
Yeah.
We'll do prices right.
Swinny, you want to have a crack?
Well, I was going to say 1,500, so...
Well, you still can. Maybe it is 1,500. Maybe it's like 1,501 and you win. So
wait, no, it's Price is Right rules, so he's pegged you in. Because what did you say? 14,995 or something?
No, 14.99. So
he's really pegged you in then.
Yeah. If it's anything above that, we're both screwed.
It's true. All right, well, let's get into my favorite segment of every week.
Swinny loves pegging me in.
Which is the bargain bin. Let's go on. So, Epic Games, as always, giving away free games. Galactic Civilization.
There's going to be no context to lead into that. That's the problem.
Let's get on with it. So, Nintendo Switch. So, there was some digital sales. So, Panzer Dragoon Remake is our highlight, $9.40 Australian. PlayStation Digital Store, our highlight, Skyrim VR, which is a nice reference there, $25. Dragon Age Inquisition Game of the Year Edition, $9.20, and Snake Pass, which is $6. Swinny, there's a lot of updates around Xbox.
Yeah, so we're not going to mention everything anymore, but we're going to just mention the highlights. But there were actually quite a bit of highlights even this week. So these aren't all the games. Well, first of all, Games of Gold, I will still mention all of those. So we've got Resident Evil and Gears 5 are going to be available all February. Dandara is available from 16th of Feb to 15th of March. Lost Planet 2, which is a 360 game, available from 16th of Feb to 28th of Feb. And Indiana Jones and the Emperor's Tomb, which is an original Xbox game, is available from 1st of Feb to 15th of Feb. So, interestingly, 5 games. I wonder why they did that this particular month.
This is like the best Xbox games with gold since we've done the podcast, but it feels like for years, right?
It's been, it is the best one in a while. So
a long while. Yeah.
For Game Pass, so these aren't all the Game Pass, these are just some highlights. So we've got Donut County, which is a great game I played recently, is available now on console.
A lot of people are raving about this. I might play it.
It's a really fun, short experience.
Short game, yeah.
So you can.
What is it about? What is it?
Puzzle game, right?
You're an arsehole raccoon destroying civilization.
This is the new genre. Like awesome. you're a bastard goose
trash panda.
In Untitled Goose Game. So.
Control is available now on PC Game Pass.
Boo! Why didn't they announce this when they did the console one? So annoying.
Cyber Shadow.
That's pretty obvious.
Cyber Shadow, a game that I'm hoping to play through.
Cyber Shadow.
So I am going to play this game. It sounds like we're all going to play this. Let's commit to playing it because next week we would have played it.
Yeah.
By then.
Cool. So that's available 26th of Jan for console and PC, and the Medium is available on 28th of Jan for console and PC. So that's a Series X exclusive.
I'm going to play that as well. Well, it's not. Well, yeah, Series X exclusive, but then PC as well.
Yeah, console. When I say when we talk about Series X exclusive, we're talking consoles.
And it's the first one. It's the first real exclusive.
Not the first one. First big. What I'd call big hitter.
AAA, right?
Yeah, I guess depends your definition of AAA, but yeah.
What was the game that did actually get a console exclusive? I can't remember what the name of it was. Not Yakuza, was it?
Well, Yakuza was, but that was also on PS4 as well, just not PS5. Okay. Anyway, so some notable removals on 1st of Feb is Final Fantasy 15 and Indivisible. So just a quick...
And just on that, before you move on to the PSA, but... I got this text because I get alerts for Game Pass on my phone, and it texted me, or it notified me, I should say, Final Fantasy 15 is leaving Game Pass. Why don't you get into it? And it's like January 24th, and it's leaving on, and it literally said it's leaving on the 29th of Jan. It's the 24th of Jan, and it's like...
I mean, if you played 24/7, you could probably finish it.
By the way...
What is this, Game Explain? Are they forcing me to play this?
A flag, if anyone actually wants to get all the achievements in that game, you cannot play the console version. You have to play the PC version for Xbox.
Oh, why's that?
That's a nice PSA.
Nice PSA on...
Because there's the Comrades multiplayer mode that they added was removed from the console version. It's only available on the PC version.
So it's unachievable achievements. Damn.
But it's a shared achievement list. But here's the annoying part: it's not play anywhere, so the game save doesn't carry across. So you have to play it on PC.
No, okay. And so the PSA?
So a quick PSA. So years ago, there was a whole big range of Microsoft casual games that they released across Windows 8 and Windows Phone games. So you can that's the timeline around when those were a thing. They're all shutting down their servers in April. So there's a lot of games impacted. So it's games like Microsoft Minesweeper, Jigsaw, Mahjong, Sudoku, Bingo, and all these kind of games that, unfortunately, you can still technically complete them, but they'd be very difficult to complete by that date legit. Well, you wouldn't be able to. You have to actually change the dates of the system to be able to do it. So, but just a heads up that they're all shutting down their service.
So wait, you can't play Mahjong or Minesweeper on those phones?
No, those specific versions. So we're not talking about I don't even know. Is Minesweeper regular Minesweeper isn't even a thing anymore on Windows 10, is it?
Yeah, it's on Windows. Yeah, you can still play it.
Okay. Oh yeah, but
Windows
it's not
10,
pre-installed on mine. But yeah,
I don't think they pre-install it, but you can select it from memory.
So, but this was one that had like daily quests. Like it was a much bigger thing. So they're shutting down the service for all of those.
Okay. Oh, nice. All right. Well, let's get into something I'm excited about. So, Mike finally has played my favorite game of all time after we kept on whinging about it, Super Metroid. Mike, take it away. So you played it on the Switch, right?
I did play it on the Switch, yeah, which I think is a good place to play it on, save but having an actual SNES, which would have been awesome. And the reason it would have been more awesome, I think, is the controller. I really feel like it would have benefited from having a proper SNES controller.
Well, you can go on the Nintendo store now and buy Super Nintendo. That's how I play Super Nintendo games.
$34.95 for one-off payment of $34.95.
Wireless
you can
SNES
jump on and you can buy a wireless SNES controller. So I think that would have benefited a lot because I used the Joy-Cons because you said that using the Pro Controller was even worse in terms of the D-pad.
I don't like the D-pad, but Sweeney likes the D-pad of the Pro
I like it.
Yeah. So I might as well jump straight into the controllers and how the controls felt. Games have obviously, I wouldn't say they've improved. They've been finessed. There's a few things when it comes to controller and the tightness of moving a character around and how forgiving things are nowadays. So I'll use the wall jump as a perfect example. I got the hang of it by the end, but unless it's in the manual, which I was missing, and I'll talk about that in a sec, it doesn't really explain the exact mechanics. It doesn't explain that you kind of need to press the direction change first and then a split second later do that. Like instinctively, I do them at the same time.
Yeah.
And it just wasn't working, but that's not explained anywhere. So the whole time I'm like, man, I'm failing. And once you kind of go, I need to do it like this and then do this, even though it's hard because you're fighting against your own instincts that I guess you've learned from subsequent games that you've played, because there's other games that have had wall jumping since. Yeah. And I think it's also that learned behavior that was just different back in that game. And I remember when I first got the screw attack, I think it was. So when you jump, it does the screw, and then you can, and then you get the what was the last one? Oh my gosh, I forgot now. Where it allows you to keep jumping or keep spinning in the air. The space jump. When I got the space jump, for some reason, again, it's not explained to you that you need to wait till you go down a bit and then press it.
It's a technique, though. Like
it's a technique you do learn.
But they easily could have made it easier, and I think they did that on purpose. I think they.
So that's what I was gonna. So I was gonna say that as well. So at first I'm like, man, this is annoying. This is frustrating. Blah blah blah. But then I went, but wait, this is actually kind of cool because you need more skill to do these things. It's just some easy thing that they give you, and off you go. And you need to discover these things by yourself. Even though, yes, I may have gone, oh my god, I got this, how do I do this thing? And I message you guys. Yeah, and by the time you even reply, a lot of those I already figured out just because I actually tried it.
I don't think I answered any of your questions. I just
No, you didn't. You were just getting pissed off. It was probably annoying you.
So
I was going
to say, did you discover all the secret techniques that you could do in the game?
What are the secret techniques? Like jump, like the run jump, where you run and then you flash and you can fly up?
Yes, so that's one of them.
Yeah, I got that one.
And the other one, I think it's called Crystal Flash.
Wall jumping? Crystal Flash, what was that one?
Yeah, so Crystal Flash is one that I don't blame you for not finding it. So your energy can't be higher than 49, and reserve tanks must all be empty, and must have 10 super missiles, and 11 power bombs. And then you actually perform this super special move and all your health gets refilled. It's called the Crystal Flash. It's really cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
I had no idea that even existed. I think I only got 70% of
those conditions. I'm not saying you would have found it, but I was just interested to know if you knew
that's not a collectible, but that's just a technique.
It's a technique. That's why I said.
Where is that explained though in the game?
That one
didn't have. How do you find that out though? Yeah, but how do you find something like that out?
It's like
randomly you happen to have that
number. The other week, right? It's like
but that is so obscure.
They want to put secrets in, right?
That's a proper secret.
The Crystal Flash, I think that's the kind of stuff that you'd read in your Nintendo Powers and stuff like that.
You'd have to, you'd read that in somewhere like that. Yeah,
I'll also say just on the wall jumping. So the wall jumping is not. I'll say it like this: the wall jumping is not like, the space jump or other parts of the game where it's a core mechanic. It's kind of a secret mechanic. Is explained by the animals. The animals that are in the game.
Yeah.
The animals explain it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I saw them do it. I'm like, how do I get out of here? Because you can't get out of that until you learn how to do it.
You don't need to get out of there, but how do you get up there is the question you have.
Well, no, you do, because you can't go to the left from memory. The only way to get out of that place is to go jump up.
Is that right, Swinny?
Yeah, you have to do it.
You have to learn the mechanics. Yeah. So even though I think you don't have to use it later in the game. I used it in a few places, but I wasn't sure if you actually had to use it there, or I kind of shortcutted because I knew the technique.
Yeah.
But you have to use it to get out of there. So I'm like, whoa, okay, well, you're stuck there.
There's also a neat little move where you can release, I think it's 5 bombs at the same time as well, which is pretty
cool. I did that by mistake and I couldn't figure out how to do it again. And I kept trying. I'm like, come on, how do I do this? Because I released 5 of them. I'm like, this is sick. This could be so useful against the boss or something. Oh, speaking of bosses, since I mentioned them, cool bosses. I think by now that has evolved a lot. I think bosses in sort of subsequent Metroidvania inspired games. I was going to make the joke at the start of the whole thing saying, wow, this is like the 5th best Metroidvania game I've ever played. But I won't. It's a fantastic game, obviously. But yeah, the bosses I felt they weren't complex compared to more modern bosses, which I didn't mind. It did make it kind of easy, other than I think the Mother Brain. Was it the Mother Brain who was like the last boss?
Yeah.
And especially because you need to conserve as much health as you can when you before you smash the jar and you attack the brain before it actually turns into a boss. That took a few goes, but then the 3rd time I did it, I'm like, oh wait, if I just sit here and I do this, it was super easy. And one of the other bosses I think gave me Ridley, sorry.
Riley just tried to troll me, man.
Oh man.
Ridley, it's not explained a lot either in the game. It's like, hey Ridley, how's it going? It's not.
But I like that. It's atmospheric storytelling.
No, I do, but for someone who doesn't have the manual, for someone who's not into,
I sent you
hasn't really seen the history. I didn't see it. Shit.
What? I texted you.
Saved me a lot of trouble.
I was like,
texted me. I didn't get anything.
I was taking screenshots from it.
I didn't get any texts about it.
Signal. I sent it to you, and then even Swinny referred to it. He goes, "Oh, this actually has a lot of the questions you asked."
Okay, group chat. Whoops, I didn't click on that. Sorry, I was probably too busy playing the actual game. But you know what? In some ways, I actually like the fact that I didn't, because other than a few small hints that Swinny gave me, a lot of the rest was up to me to try to figure out.
Yeah.
And it is a kind of game that there's a lot of little things you got to figure out yourself. And I really appreciated that. I think I can see how it would have been a bit of a roadblock to some people, and people would have generally been super stuck if they didn't have someone to ask or reference or the Nintendo mag to read. But I appreciated that, because there's so many things were like, wow, this is awesome how I figured this little thing out. And how you can use the technique. Like the bomb jumping, you figure that out by yourself. You don't even need a manual. You're like, oh, wait, can't I just use bombs to do that? And you do. And the game doesn't explain that anywhere. You just do it, which is really cool. So I find that interesting, because a lot of modern games, for better or worse, they hold your hand a lot more in at least explaining. Like even, Dark Souls and Demon Souls and stuff, whilst limited, it still has a mini tutorial. Press this to do this to roll, blah, blah, blah. Like
games.
There's a tutorial in it.
Games didn't have any kind of formal tutorial generally.
They didn't
until like your Mega Man X's and stuff.
But I guess they did have manuals where a lot of that was explained.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But you could always play the game, or not always, but generally you could play the game without the manual. Like the most famous cited example is Super Mario Brothers on the NES, where basically the first level teaches you most of the techniques you need for the whole game, apart from running. Where it's like, okay, you have to jump and you have to jump a bit further and all this other kind of stuff to be able to get through that level itself.
Yeah, but Metroid's that on crack, because it's a lot more complex what you can do, and the tools available to you are a lot more complex. But what I think I like is that they're staged and they're given to you pretty generous in terms of the way they're done, or the pacing is really, really good, I think. In some games, I feel like you get certain abilities too late in the game where it's just like, well, I can't really, like, it'd be cool to have had this ability earlier because it would have been fun to use, but it's way late in the game that I got this. Whereas with this, I think the pacing was just really, really well made.
I think the screw attack as like the
maybe too late.
No, I think as the final thing is perfectly placed because it's like now you feel like a badass, whereas the whole game up until this point you've kind of felt like you're surviving. Then it's like now I'm at the end of the game. Now it's my time to really let loose. You know,
especially when because you get the space jump pretty quickly after that. Sorry. And then you go, okay, well, obviously I'm getting near the end of the game, and you can use those tools to go and complete everything you want, and you feel a bit way more badass than you did before, and you can go to all the different areas and find the little things, and then you can go fight the final boss. So the pacing is really good.
The screw attack is so overpowered in my view. Like, it makes sense for what it is and when it is in the game.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And I think for me, that's always what I love about Metroidvanias. It's that kind of god complex that I have, where it's... You play through it and you get stronger and stronger and stronger. And then when you go back and backtrack, you just pulverize the enemies that you come into.
It's satisfying.
I'll just jump into you and destroy you.
It's such a satisfying satisfying progression. And I think that's what makes this game really, really good. It's really well paced, really satisfying progression, cool different abilities to use. The music was really good too. It really reminded me of a lot of games from sort of that early to mid 90s, that sort of era, that MIDI soundtrack. And it's strange. Some of the games, one of my favorite games growing up was the Ultima series. And I remember specifically in Ultima 8, there's a few tracks in Metroid where I'm like, this kind of sounds very similar to some tracks that I remember in this game. So I made it even cooler to listen to. The only thing is, I don't know if it's just me. I'm assuming it's not me. The volume of the SNES game package thing, what is it even called, like the SNES game with the collection, is lower than the system volume, so I had to really crank up the volume on the Switch to get the same level that I would get in other games. But then everything else was really loud, so it's a small thing that I don't know, it's probably more just not so much the game but just that. So yeah, anything else you guys thought?
Well, what would you give this game out of 10?
Well, so here's the thing, it's because I played it so late, and there were so many other games before it that were inspired by it. So I need to take all these factors into account. But to me, the very fact that I finally had a game that I put more than those, under 5 hours in, I actually kept on wanting to play it. And I kept wanting to go back to it, and I kept wanting to figure out, how do I get past this part? What do I do in here? Like, oh man, where do I go next kind of thing. That's actually pretty rare. With my ADHD or whatever the hell is causing this, it's really rare for me to keep wanting to go and do that. But with this game, I just want to see what happens next. I want to see what ability I get next. I want to see what the next thing is. And I had no story or anything. Like, it wasn't like I was trying to figure out what happens next in the story, because there isn't a story in this game, really. It was more that I just wanted to see what the game gives me next. And to me, that's a huge thing. So, I would give it like a solid 9. 9.5. Okay. Yeah.
That's actually more than I thought you'd give it, to be honest.
Really? No, I thought it was excellent, because I played a whole bunch of different Metroidvania games, and to me, this is still, now that I've played it, and I can see why it's inspired so many other games after it, and I have to keep remembering when this game was released, and the kind of games that were out there, and the fact that all the other games that I played didn't exist back then. When you look at all those factors, this thing would have been amazing back then.
And there was also such a...
I
was going to say, there's also such a big amount of time before a lot of these Metroidvanias really came to be. Obviously Symphony of the Night and stuff like that, but it wasn't until the last 10 years that we really saw this Metroidvania genre really take off,
Yeah,
it is.
So
and it's still one of the best ones, by the way, I think.
I remember talking to you, Swinny, 10, 15 years ago, and I'm like, I just want games like Super Metroid. No one's making these kind of games. I remember thinking about it so much.
And then Shadow Complex came along, and you're like, yeah, there we go.
I want to play that next.
I was obsessed about that game. I love that game.
So good. Same.
I've finished that game twice. Yeah. I love that game so much. And it was really funny, because I just wanted to say that, when they announced the backwards compatibility of the PS5, And people were like, who gives a shit? And Shadow Complex was on there.
It's one of the ones they don't have.
Devastated.
I know.
They have patched it, so now you can play
they have.
on PS5.
Sweet.
Yes.
Mike, I'd be interested for you to replay at least, a bit of Shadow Complex and just be like, wow, this is basically Super Metroid. This is
reskin Metroid. What the hell?
No, it adds lots of its own cool stuff, but it's it is otherwise basically Super Metroid, which is cool.
Well, that's the other funny thing. I feel like so many of the Metroidvanias pay homage to Super Metroid and Metroid.
Oh, yeah.
Like with the design of certain parts of their levels, it's almost like a bit of a nod to, like, they have it in Ori and the Blind Forest. Like, almost all the Metroidvanias I've played in the last few months have had one or two references, like very obvious references. So you probably notice that in games going forward, Metroidvanias, where you're like, I can see they're referencing something in Super Metroid here.
But the best thing about it, even though it was the original, I still think it's by far one of the best. Like, I wouldn't. Yeah, maybe even the best Metroidvania game that I've played.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
It works so well. Like, everything about it just the complexity yet the simplicity of it at the same time just works really, really well. I think the developers did such a phenomenal job.
Did you like the ending sequence and how all that played out with the Metroid and stuff?
Yeah. I really liked it. Yeah. Poor little
and the
Metroid.
most important question is, did you save the animals?
Ah, yes.
You can do that?
He doesn't know about the animals.
I totally forgot about him.
So did you get the one pixel flying away from the planet?
So
to indicate that you saved the animals.
Don't think Wait, do you have to do something specific to
save
them?
Can I explain this?
I feel so bad now. What have I done?
Go on, Sweeney.
I'm a monster.
So, and this has become such a legendary thing from this game that it spurned this whole other thing I'll mention afterwards. But so during the ending sequence of Super Metroid, where you're escaping the time sequence and you go up the giant vertical shaft in I forget the criteria, whatever the first area is. There's a 1 pixel place where you could, like, a 1 block place that you can bomb and get in there, and then you actually, the animals that helped you out to teach you those moves early in the game, the ones bouncing off the walls and the ones that taught you
God.
You actually save them, and when the planet blows up, you see their ship flying away. That's like 1 pixel.
Yeah, it's like a 1 pixel ship flying in a different direction.
What that has led to is Games Done Quick, the massive speedrunning event. They have these huge bidding wars on whether or not they save the animals, or they used to call it kill the animals. I think they call it something else now. But basically, because think speedrunners, that's time wasted. So people bid, and it goes to charity whether or not the speedrunner has to take the time to save the animals in Super Metroid, because Super Metroid is traditionally done as the finale of Games Done Quick. So it's this big thing where it's like, and people are chanting, save the animals or kill the animals or whatever. And it's actually really fun to watch. So
wow. Well, you technically, hang on. This is the train track moral dilemma. You're not killing them. You're just not saving them.
Well, I think they changed it to save the frames these days.
Okay.
So,
save the frames or save the animals.
Yeah.
That's good. I like that. So I think for me, like, this is definitely my favorite game of all time. And I think it's going to be a real big challenge to knock it off, because Metroidvanias are probably my favorite genre. Well, they are my favorite genre. Like, I shouldn't say probably. They are definitely my favorite genre. And games these days, I feel like they just won't allow a game to be quote unquote this short. You know, this game is like
short,
a 5 to 6 hour completion.
I don't know how it's 5 to 6. Even I thought I was really quick through it, and I was using save states in a couple of times to save me a little bit of time, so I don't have to keep falling down and jumping back up. How can you do it that quick? I thought I was pretty quick.
But did you get 100% completion?
No, I didn't even get it. I got like 70% only. 70%. So how do people get that?
There's actually an inbuilt like special ending or ending sequence that for beating the game under 2 hours, I think it is.
Yeah, you'd like to see that, Mike. You'd like to see that.
I guess I just mucked around more than I thought I did, backtracking and stuff.
But anyway, like, as you said, it's relatively a shorter game than a lot of the games that get released.
It's still short. 9 hours is still pretty short. Yeah.
And that's my challenge, because I personally don't like when games are extended for me for no reason. It's like just kind of repeating the same stuff over and over again.
There you go, Mike.
It overstays the welcome.
I've linked you a thing. If you scroll down halfway, you'll see the Super Metroid endings. So it's under 3 hours. So the best ending quite under 3 hours is Samus in her, like, I guess, outside of her suit.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's ready for the beach or something like that, right?
Oh, ooh la la.
Anyway,
Mike's pissed.
Now Mike's going to play it again. Try to beat it under 3 hours.
Pixels.
Try to beat it under 3 hours, Mike. So yeah, I think that's why it's always going to be a challenge for me to ever knock this off my favorite game of all time, because no one's going to be brave enough to make a, 6-7 hour AAA game like this.
Why don't you make one?
No, I'm not. Let's take too much time.
No, but here's the thing. Games. It takes too much time, but this is a game that nowadays you could make. A single person could make.
Yeah, but it still
nowadays.
takes 10 years. Like there was a guy who made AM2R, so Metroid 2, so Samus Returns on the Game Boy. He remade it in GameMaker Studio.
Yeah.
And it took him like 10 years to make it. And then once he released it, Nintendo cease and desisted him.
Of course.
Yeah, and it was a really, really good remake of Metroid 2. Like,
yeah, so much so he got a job in the game industry after that.
Yeah.
Awesome. He never worked in the game industry before it. So to be fair, he did get collaborators by the end of the game. But that's really cool. I've played
that is really cool.
Version.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it does take a long, long time to make, because these games are so intricate in terms of how they all fit together, like a bit of a puzzle piece. So
that's probably that's the hardest part, and the testing that has to go in, and so you don't break things, and how do you redevelop an area later that you've already done when you come up with a new mechanic or something, or it's like it's super intricate.
It's a puzzle.
But I think I'm with you. Like, I don't know if I'd say these are my favorite games. I'd say the Souls games.
Souls games.
My favorite, probably, maybe. But this would come a close second. And this game itself, I'm sure you can tell, absolutely loved it.
Yeah, I guess that's
really,
what I
really
need
cool.
to play.
I wish I played it in 94.
It's a bit of a mix, but
it is a bit of a mix, but it's different. So both Swinny and I obviously played Hollow Knight, and I did not enjoy it anywhere near as much. Again, kudos to, 3 developers that did it? Team Cherry
in Adelaide.
Amazing achievement. Maybe it was just a little too hard for me and too frustrating in parts that it just didn't. I got pretty far. I never fully finished it, but I got
it's too
really.
Hard. It scares me if you say it's too hard, because you're actually a very skilled gamer.
Well,
so like, geez.
It's much harder than Super Metroid.
It's harder, yeah. It's way harder than Super Metroid, I think.
Well, Super Metroid's not hard.
It wasn't as fun. I think ultimately the problem that I had with the game, it just wasn't as fun. And I think one of the things that just I remember frustrating me was, and maybe that's why I never got into Shovel Knight, was like the pogo stick mechanic, where you have to, in order to get to certain places, you had to jump off. You had to like go downwards and quickly like attack down. And maybe it's just the Switch or something. The controllers aren't. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I can't get used to doing that fast enough.
The Switch
that it became frustrating.
Yeah, they're not.
So maybe that's why. Yeah, it just became a little too frustrating to do it. But anyway, awesome game. Play it.
It's I'm glad that you finally played it, and it seems like you're pretty big on it. So.
Thanks for taking the time to play one of our favorite games, Mike.
Yes,
no, thank you for that. I legit appreciate the fact that you guys got me to play this, and then I can finally feel like, I've played this, loved it. I really wish I played it back in '94. It would have been such an awesome experience.
Yeah, it was a very cool game. All right, well, let's wrap up the show for this week. As always, if you want to help us out, reach out to us or give us a 5-star review on your podcast service of choice. I think I'll be dodgy, and I'll start publishing some of the results from my bots. So I might start publishing when PS5s are available, Xbox Series X's, when the Monster Hunter Amiibo are available on the Nintendo Store, all the hard stuff to get. So you'll probably start seeing that in the Twitter feed and other feeds. But again, probably the biggest thing to help us out is reach out to us, interact with us, and then also tell your mates, tell your friends, tell your family, tell your dog to subscribe. That will always help us.
And if you need a pool cleaned, give me a call.
You look like so much like Dave Grohl. All right, with that, bye-bye.
Ciao.
Bye.